Welcome guys back to the podcast. This has been a journey trying to set this whole thing up, and I'm very grateful to be here with my brothers doing this podcast today. Um Before we get into it, I just have a few announcements. Um for those of you who don't know about the church I go to Church LV. You'll see it right here on the screen. Um, this is just it's a good church, guys. Um, I'm not big on. I mean, I want you guys to come to my church, but if you already have a church, as long as that church is home to you guys, that's all that really matters. We're all out here pursuing God and pursuing Christ and walking with Christ. So if your church is home to you, then by all means. But for those of you out there who never found home at a church or had never been to church, I do want to recommend coming to my church. Church LV, we have two locations here. Actually, we have three locations. We got our Green Valley location, then we got the West Henderson location, and then you can also watch us online. Um, I got baptized at this church, so this church really means a lot to me from the couple months that I've been going here. Um, you could check out their latest message. I know our Green Valley location is ran by Pastor Benny Perez and his wife Wendy Perez, and then the West Henderson is ran by Pastor Michael. I cannot say the last name, and his wife Pastor Gia. So they're it's a really good community there. Um, so check us out. They have a website here, churchlv.com, or if you download like the Church Center app, you can also just put Church LV in the church, and it has all like the ways you guys get connected and stay up to date with like the groups and all that. They also have Belong. I just did the Belong, so I'm a recent graduate of Belong. Belong is just a way for you to serve. If you want to serve in the church, they have different serving opportunities you can do. I know there's like events and like community, some things they do within like on the streets and stuff with like Salvation Army and some shelters. They also have like media guests. It's called guest something, just for you to help the guests. But if you wanna belong, you can do that. But they also have Battleborn Festival coming up. It's a 3-day event where you just come and worship the Lord. I know that they're gonna be preaching. I think they have a few guest singers coming out. So it's just a really good way to, in my opinion, I like Church LV because of how the community is, and like especially with the young adult night, because we have young adult night once a month, and it's just a good way for people who are like 18 to 30 to just be around people who are their age, so it feels a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, guys, so that's it for that. I just if you guys want to check it out, just like I said, it's churchlv.com, and you can check out if you want if there's more information you need. But without further ado, the title of today's podcast is Mental Health and Ministry. It being Mental Health Awareness Month, I really just got four of my closest brothers here with me, and we're just gonna talk about mental health and how we could tie in ministry with that. But before we get into it, I just want to have everyone introduce themselves with a quick little background of like where they come from. So whoever wants to start us off,
I'll go first.
that.
Name is Mario. Um, I guess like the introductory that I could say a little bit about me is I was born in Cali but grew up in Vegas. So basically born and raised in Vegas, been here most of my life. Just grew up an athlete, always like a really good kid. I'd say like I never really did much bad. I grew up in like bad neighborhoods around bad people, but always kind of had that conscious decision of like my family being around them being in gangs, like skipping that life. I kind of always consciously made the decision to be good and kind of be do that. But growing up in the neighborhood, I'd say I'm not gonna say like it's anything compared to what my parents was, but definitely like growing up lifestyle is not the best in terms of like decision making, and just got wrapped up in a lot of bad stuff. Decided to turn my life back around and use my gifts and kind of pursue my purpose that I feel like God has for me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Amen.
that's where I am today.
So I did ask them to bring something that, Excuse me. Yo, shout out to Ghost, man. Y'all be having me burp all the time when I'm drinking these things, man. Like, the carbonation is crazy in these drinks.
Shout out to Ghost for the burp.
For real. But
Yeah,
I asked each one of them to bring something that signifies them or something that is special to them. So what did you bring?
Yeah. So what I brought today was my devotionals, but in terms of everything, what I wanted to like really talk about was just journaling. I always like feel like I'm an overthinker. I got a lot of stuff on my mind, and I feel like ever since I like bought like just a journal and just decided to just write what was on my mind, or like even when like just watching videos, just writing like what I took from it, it really kind of helped me navigate, the whole thing. Because a lot of times, like once I start thinking about something, my mind starts running in so many directions.
That's real.
So writing things down, especially like this journaling and the devotions. The devotions, it's something that I can like see every day and get like a perspective on maybe something that I already kind of knew or not, but it's just like a daily reminder. And then what I like about this journal is that it asks you how you're feeling today, what you're like working on, and things like that. And I think that's very important to know kind of what direction you're going in and to express like how you're feeling. And seeing it kind of is good. It's like a reminder for me to like understand that if I'm going through something, to kind of see what I could do to fix it.
Yeah.
And I could also look back and be like, hey, what was my routine? Because it also says like what I had plans for the day, like what I did, to see like what I did in the days like that I was feeling good, and maybe seeing like maybe if I could go back to those things, or try something new to like kind of get my head right, get me back to where I need to be.
Shout out Bravo and Bree for giving us these books.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a good way
Thanks.
to just keep track of how you're feeling. And like you said, you're able to go back and see things that you could probably do differently. Maybe you're feeling bad one month and the next month you're doing better, so it's good.
my name's Antonio. All my friends and family call me T.
Nice.
Originally from Greensboro, North Carolina, but I lived all over, man, all over the East Coast. Being in the military about the past decade, I've been everywhere, man. Virginia, out here in Nevada, obviously, Africa, Germany, Italy, Spain.
Sheesh.
Florida. Shout out to Florida. Had a great time. Had a great time in Florida. Never forget Florida.
Florida's off the map, bro. They're
bro.
out. They're not living in the Matrix.
That's
over
GTA
there.
right there.
Bro, they not in the
It's its own
Matrix.
thing. Shout out to Florida, man.
For sure.
Rocking with Florida for sure. But yeah, man, I served 2014 to 2023. Just
Thank you
recently
for your
got out.
service.
Yeah.
And that's what I brought in. Got one combat tour, one combat deployment under my belt.
Nice.
Shout out to that. All the men and women out there fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We love y'all. Whatever you fighting for, keep fighting.
Yo.
Yes,
Whether
sir.
it's this country, your own battles, your internal battles, you're fighting for your family, your freedom, your rights, whatever it is, man.
Mm-hmm.
Keep fighting. And not only that, but funny story. I know the struggle in the military,
Yeah,
man. You
sure.
really don't get paid enough. You know what I'm saying? It's a thankless job.
Yeah.
And man, I was sitting down one day, bro, and like I was doing my taxes. It was like right before tax time, and I was looking at my AGI, right, my adjusted gross income,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, okay, I can work unlimited hours because we on salary, but I'm only gonna make this certain amount by the end of the year, no matter
Right.
what I do,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And bro, I looked at it, and I could have shed a tear, bro. Like that
Yeah.
number was so low, bro. It was like 30, maybe 29,
Oh,
30,000.
Mm-hmm.
And this was at like an E5, E4, E5 pay. So that's
Mhm.
kind of seasoned like 4 or 5 years in, something like that,
Yeah.
right? And I was just like, bro, I got to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, I'm willing to sacrifice. Like I have a kid, but
Mhm.
she lives with her mother. And I'm like, it's just me out here. You know, why not put that time in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Facts.
So I ended up getting a second job at Walmart. Worked at Walmart, bro.
Yes, sir. You say you work in dairy.
Worked in dairy,
Yes,
yeah, back
sir.
in the freezer. Shout out to the dairy section, man.
Now,
Yeah,
after you
yeah.
getting paid more, with how expensive it be getting.
Nah.
Bro, no,
Exactly.
for real. You got to, man.
For
And
real.
I did that for a few months. It was cool, but bro, I was working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And
that's
after
tough.
working, bro, 8, 10 hours a day,
That's tough.
trying to eat lunch on the way to work.
Right.
You know what I
bro.
mean? Change in the car real quick and go
Mhm.
in, work. I'm getting off at 11, got to be back at work at 5:30. Yeah, it was crazy, man.
Right.
But
Yeah.
And salary, that's like you said, like no matter how many hours you put in, like it's just gonna be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Whether you work 8 hours, 10, 14, and the thing about what we were doing in Fallon, that's where I was stationed at, Fallon, Nevada, small town, rural area. Don't recommend it.
Right.
It's about an hour south of Reno, but aircraft maintenance. So
Mm.
man, we're on the the flight line or the runway out there, and I was an aviation ordnanceman. Shout out to my IOs, my guys. But bro, we're hand loading bombs, anything 500 to 1,000 pounds,
Yeah.
and you just create a real brotherly bond
Yeah.
with the guys you work with every
Mhm.
day, and kind of rely on each other.
For sure.
You know, if you're going through something or if he's going through something mentally, like that can throw the whole team off.
Yeah.
Because you got to be on the fly. You got jets turning up. You can't hear each other. There's sign language going on. And it's dangerous, too.
Mhm.
So you just really got to be on your P's and Q's, man.
Yeah.
But a little bit about my background, man. Kind of grew up as an athlete, 3-sport, basketball, baseball, football. Used to wrestle a little bit in middle school.
Nice.
Ran track in high school a little bit. And I don't know, man. I'll be honest. Like, me as a kid, like, I was angry. You know what I mean? Like, I grew up single parent raised, mom. And it wasn't until I got older that I understood the dynamic of that relationship
Yeah.
and why it was the way it was,
Yeah.
which is something I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah,
but,
for
you
sure.
know, not all absent fathers are bad fathers.
Okay.
Just
yeah.
say that. You know,
Mhm.
some women know how to manipulate and play keep away
Yeah.
to, their own advantage or whatever it is, their own, motive, whatever it may be. But that was my situation. Grew up in apartments. I have an older sister, but I kind of grew up like a single child, I would say. She's 8 years older.
Mhm.
But it was just me. Mom's she was working. She was also a bartender, so she was gone a lot.
Yeah.
And, you spend a lot of alone time. You get into stuff as a kid, just mischievous, little kid stuff. And,
Yeah.
yeah, bro, a lot of fighting, a lot of, a whole lot of stuff, bro. I got
Yeah.
bullied at one point in middle school going to,
Mhm.
bro, I probably went to like 6 or 7 different schools. You know what I mean? Always being a new guy.
Yeah. That was all out
Yeah.
here.
Nah, this was all in
All around.
Greensboro, North Carolina.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
where I'm from. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So it's kind of a mix of like a country city vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's only like 300,000 people in the city of Greensboro, but it's
Oh,
right
okay.
next to Charlotte,
Oh, okay.
which is like our major metro area.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, I ended on that. We'll get into some good stuff, I'm sure.
The boy.
How's it going, guys? My name is Joshua. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. A little bit about my background is both my parents are immigrants, Mexican. You know, we struggled growing up in life. I was surrounded around like gang members in my family, alcoholism and drug addiction runs all throughout my family. So, growing up in my teenage years, I felt like it was kind of like my turn to do that. So
Mhm.
me, my brothers, we all got into that, at a young age. My early high school days, we all got taken away by CPS from my parents, so we were in the system for like a year and a half. So growing up, we're struggling. We didn't, our parents weren't there. They were just fighting with each other. So my dad was gone. My mom was out, doing her thing, and we were just at home by ourselves. I got 3 brothers. 2 of them were like same age distance, and we got a younger one that's about 10 years younger. So, we had to take care of him. There was times where we didn't have food, so we would go to like the Smiths, just go steal some food. You know what I mean? Bring something back for our family to eat. While our parents were out. So it was a bonding experience for us, but not the kind of road that I would let my own kids
For
go
sure.
through. So there was a lot of learning from my parents, and they had their kids very young. By 18 they already had 3 of us, so we were kids watching kids grow up also. So
And what did you bring as your little?
so I brought my uncle's necklace that he wore. He was the only uncle in my family that was sober. He went to college. He had
That's
a
good.
good life going ahead of him. He passed away in a tragic motorcycle accident. Somebody hit him, and he was dead on impact. So I really looked up to him. When I grew up with him, he was only about 5-10 years older than me. So we looked up to him and seeing all the good that he was doing out of our whole family. So, it influenced me to be just like him. He was gone too soon. So
Yeah.
I still hold that. It's very memorable to me.
It's powerful because it's like, how old are you, Antonio?
32.
32, 25,
26.
26. I'm 25, 25. So it's like, we're all, it's powerful to see like how different each of our, well, I'm gonna get into mine, but like how different each of our backgrounds are. Yet, like, look at us now, like you can either let the things in your life or like your, I don't want to say setbacks, but like like your upcoming, you can let that either be your reality or you have the decision to like change your life. You feel me? And like I couldn't have picked a more better group of men to like do this podcast with, because it's just like just hearing the background already is a testimony of like where where you guys have been and like where we're at today.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Sure.
So I love to hear it, man. I'm already crying on the inside. But my name is Joshua. I'm from Las Vegas, man. I'm born and raised in Vegas. My upbringing was alright. It was crazy, but it was cool. Like I grew up with my mom and my dad. My mom and my dad was always fighting, so I kind of grew up around that environment of my dad hitting my mom. My mom always forgiving, the forgiving woman she is, always forgiving, another chance, another chance. She stood on business, but sometimes she folded too, but she just had she had a lot of grace for my dad. But it's like Antonio said, you start to understand the dynamic of the relationship once you get older, because once we're kids, like we don't really know what's going on. We don't know anything about relationships, about the past, we don't know anything about anything at that point. But as you get older, you start to understand how we start to see our parents less as parents, as more as people, you feel me?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I had to learn too, is that my mom is not just my mother, like she is a person too who has her own thoughts and her own insecurities or her own whatever she has going on. And for the longest time I just saw her as like a parent and never understood that like my mother goes through things as well. But yeah, I mean I have my own problems growing up. I didn't meet my brothers and my sisters till 2014. My dad, I always my dad was more of my father than my dad. He was like, I know he was going through his own thing, but he did the best he could. Cause my dad's like almost like 70, so he was born in like the early 60s. I think I want to say 50s. Jesus.
Probably late 50s. Mine is 62, and he was born in 64.
Okay, yeah.
probably
So
late
my dad's
50s.
probably like around there.
Yeah.
But my dad grew up in a completely different generation. Drugs were different. There was not everything that we have now was definitely not available back then. So I don't blame my dad at all, and I come to terms with forgiving him for how he decided to like quote unquote raise me. But it always just kind of felt like my dad was just there. And I know most people could testify to that. Most people have the same upbringing where their fathers are just there but not present. You feel me? So my mom kind of just like raised me, and I'm glad that she did, because like seeing her be so forgiving of me and loving on me, I now have that value within myself of being understanding and just moving with grace and stuff. But I brought my certificate of a new life of my baptism at Church LV. I got baptized before earlier in the year, but this time, getting baptized this time around with Church LV, it was different, because I really felt like I was walking into like what God has called me to do. And so I'm just trying to fulfill that the best way I can. But getting into the conversation of like, mental health, we all know that we as men struggle a lot with mental health, and it's something that's not really not really like talked about as much. And I learned this like early on, like my but before I get into it, let's just go over some statistics real quick. So as you can see right here, this is from the Anxiety and Depression Association of America. America. And you can see right here, more than 3 million men in the U.S. have panic disorder, agoraphobia. I don't even know what y'all know what agoraphobia is?
Nah, I'm not.
I don't
I'm
know.
not sure.
I'm just learning
No
about all
clue.
of these words.
Hey, Bree, you know
all
what
this stuff, man.
agoraphobia is?
She was searching though.
I don't know what agoraphobia
Somebody gotta
is,
Google it.
but we finna Google it. Okay, so it's a fear of places and situations that might cause panic, helplessness, or embarrassment. Okay,
Like,
okay.
everybody
I've
deals with
never
it.
experienced that. I don't think like a certain place. Maybe situations have caused me to have panic, but never places. But and other phobias. So more than 3 million men, like that's a lot. That's a lot of men. Like when you think about, there's obviously like billions of people in the world, but when you really like get into the numbers of like men and women, like that's a crazy number. And then right here it says 2.3 million Americans are affected by bipolar disorder, and equal amount of men and women develop the illness. The age of onset for men is between 16 and 25 years old. And it's crazy because look at this last one. 3.5 million people in the US have been diagnosed, and 90% of those who are diagnosed by the age of 30 are men. Bro, it's so crazy to me because it's like we as men go through so much, and uh, part of it is culture, part of it is not knowing who God is, and part of it is just the upbringing. So there's childhood that's involved. That 16 to 25 are real crucial years for men. Men and women, of course, but crucial for men because at that time at 16, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was doing. I was lost in the sauce. So like that's really a crucial time for me. When I specifically remember when my depression started, and it was around the time in high school, and I'm not like not to put my boy on blast, but it was when I met my best friend Mario. Like my boy Mario is my brother to the end. I let my feelings of like jealousy turn into insecurity, turn into anger, which turned into just me like overall like hating myself just for who I was. Like I truly hated like my sight, like the just seeing myself in the mirror. Like I hated myself, and it was so crazy how much of myself that I hated because of one emotion of jealousy. And growing up with that is just it's tough, bro. It's like I don't know, like when for you guys, like how was it? Like, can you even remember when like
I remember mine.
when it started?
Yeah, cause I think I always got sad, but I never really got like down, like bad, until like I was around 21 when I was just going out and drinking all the time, and
Oh, I remember that.
yeah, I got a DUI, and I was just spending all my money all the time, like just going out, spending all my money, just doing stuff like that. And at the time, it seemed fun, but it really like kicked into me like when I got my DUI, and then I had to like spend money to like kind of take care of that,
It's
your
real.
lawyer, all
Yeah.
that stuff, and I'm like, where's this money at?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like dang, I
exactly.
just I know I've been working, I've been
Yeah.
doing that, but then you start realizing like all your actions, like it hits you when
Yeah.
it gets real, it hits you.
Consequences.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
consequences.
Man, consequences.
And that's really like when I just really was disappointed in myself because like I said, I always had been good, and then I kind of got through that, and I think I just kind of like had a blanket over it, really, like something that I could like mask it in because I just really got into like working hard and like having money.
Mhm.
But I'd say definitely like I think I probably hit like depression again, like where it hit me hard to where I finally feel like now I have the answer. Like on if I ever were going through a hard time, would probably be like around like probably last year.
How old were you? Would you say?
I was 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 24. So for like 3 years, I think like I just kind of like was like kind of going through it, but I still had like the bad habits that like I think was causing it. I think I was just
Yeah.
keeping myself so busy that I didn't realize like it was still there in the back of my head,
Just
like
pushing it
lingering.
to the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Until again, boom, like a tragic thing happens. Like I got out
Yeah.
of like a toxic relationship.
Mm.
Um,
That'll do it.
yeah,
for
just
sure.
and I think like and then I ended up like getting addicted to drugs. just drinking again all the time, you know, just partying and shit, my bad.
No, it's all
Um,
good. It's all
bro,
good.
yeah,
Just partying, you know, and like,
We try not to cuss on a podcast because we're men of God, but
um,
sometimes the conversation gets real.
yeah, just partying and like doing stuff like that. And I just realized, you know, like at some point, like I don't, like I sat down, I told myself, like, do you really, like, you keep saying, like, when it comes to family and like other people, like, would you like let this person like date your daughter? Or would you let them date
Yep.
your sister?
Exactly.
And that's like we always have a strong
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly.
We always have a strong opinion about that. But I'm like, what about you? You think somebody would want you to date? Do you think you
Yeah.
date somebody would be proud of you dating their daughter or their sister? Like, nah, you want to be a man that you could be proud
Yeah,
of, you know. So like, I started keeping it real myself. I'm like, you don't even hold up the standards that you hold to other people for that.
Yeah.
So like, you know, you gotta like do something to fix yourself. And man, it's been a long process, but it's been a great one.
Yeah,
That's
3
good.
years ago, you wouldn't want me dating your daughter 3 years ago.
That's growth right there, though. That's growth.
Man, that's real though. Pushing those thoughts to the back of your head every single day, and then just hoping it gets better. Like that's tough, bro. Because you get to that breaking point, and it's like once you get to, at least when I got to that breaking point, bro, it was just like I was just like tunnel vision of just like darkness. Like I was it was like an out of body thing. Like I was just coasting, and I was just coasting and not even caring about what was going on. So it's a tough one.
Yeah.
I know you're a little bit older, so you probably got like a lot of experience on like
Trauma.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say therapy, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy. I denied it for a long time, but I was forced to go when my best friend took his own life in 2017, and it was while I was in the Navy. So they have a chaplain, and they have like it's a whole process you got to go through. So with him, he dealt with kind of like a similar situation, man. You know, drinking, partying. You know, when you work hard, you play hard.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
you know, that's just kind of how it goes at men, you know, with men at a certain age, you know, especially working in our field, man. You know, we young kids with grown man jobs,
Yeah.
you know, so it was just that, man. Go out during the week, whatever. And it always catches up with you at some point.
Yeah.
That's what you got to understand. No matter what you're doing, you know, you're going to reap what you sow.
Exactly.
And, you know, you got to lay in the bed that you make. And unfortunately, bro, he had wrecked his car. And I won't get into, you know, too many details of the situation, but, you know, when they came and, you know, got him, you know, they obviously knew who it was from the stuff that was on the side of the road.
Yeah.
They come to your address like, hey, you know, come with us pretty much. We know what happened.
Yeah.
But that's how that situation went. And, you know, bro he got real depressed, and it changed him because he made rank really quick. And he was a young dude. Like, he was way younger than us. Like, I think Will was like barely 21, like 21, 22
Dang.
at the time. So, you know, you kind of at that age too where you can drink legally, and it's like, oh, I can go whatever, I can do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm grown now. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Exactly.
Free.
Yeah. So that's what bro was dealing with, man. And you know, they committed him to a mental institution or mental hospital, I should say. And man, yeah, somebody we didn't know, one of his friends had came and checked him out on a day that he could have visitation. And you know, he went and got a hotel room, and, you know, went and got his stuff out of storage. And, you know, he wrote his last letter and left it on the nightstand. And, you know, unfortunately, that's where he left his life, you know, in that situation. But dealing with that, you know, it didn't really affect me at first. I was just kind of numb to a lot of it.
Like in shock almost.
I would say, man, I learned as a kid growing up with the parent that I had. I learned disassociation.
Oh yeah, that's
at a young age.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. So it's like I'm there in the physical form,
Yeah.
but mentally I'm checked out.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I used to hear people say all the time, man, like, oh, man, you always daydreaming, or you always this or that. But it was just, I didn't realize what it was as a kid, but that's what I was doing.
Like I was not here, bro.
Yeah, I was taking myself to a different
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
But, you know, you deal with, like, you know, abuse and, you know, verbal stuff like that. But I don't even know how you, you know, form those skills, but it just comes with it. And that's kind of what it was, bro. Going through that, and me, I'm always, let me be there for somebody else. So the guys, the girls that knew him, I'm that shoulder that you can lean on, that rock. That's always been me. Like even growing up, mom, like you the man of the house, which is crazy to tell a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old.
Yeah.
But once you grow up in that mentality, it's like you get into that role as you get older.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I dealt with it on my own. Always had a relationship with God, but I will say back at that time, bro, I was drinking through the pain.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I remember at his funeral. Let's be real. Can I be real?
Yeah.
That's
exactly
bro.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it, man. So you can't do drugs in the military, right? You can't. I don't recommend it. Don't play that game. Yeah. But bro, I remember being on like some over the counters.
Like prescriptions?
Yeah. Somebody else's, but being at the funeral just because I didn't want to deal with it, bro.
Yeah.
And it's a whole thing when somebody dies in the military.
Yeah.
It's a whole They do what's called roll call. And it doesn't hit until they call the person's name that's passed. So it's a formation. Let's say all three of us, right? One of us passed. So you be in uniform, we standing there, you go through the ceremony, somebody will call out, roll call. He'll say his name, present. You say your name, present. You say his name. And then they call the person who isn't there. And it's dead quiet.
Yeah.
Then they call it again, dead quiet. Then a third time, and then they go on through the ceremony and just, they play a song called Colors, which is where, you probably heard on a movie or something that horn or that trumpet is like a real sad song. That's what they play. And bro, that tore everybody up, bro.
Bro, I can only like
sure.
I'm trying to put myself in the setting right now.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
just getting
exactly. I'm
goosebumps.
thinking about it.
I'm telling you, when that hits and you just like, they got the flag over the casket and you realize you'll never see your brother again, I don't know, it just took me to a place, man.
Yeah.
I remember, bro, I was kind of out of it. I would, drinking, doing stupid stuff, bro, getting behind the wheel or just trying to keep my mind off of it. But they forced me to go to therapy, man. And I hated it. I resented it at first. Not to be funny, but you got an inner city black kid talking to a middle-aged white woman about my problems. You know what I mean? I don't really feel the connection or the relation.
Yeah.
Of course.
You feel me? Like, what can we connect on? Especially at that time. And, she's like, yeah, tell me about your feelings and how you feel about it. And like, how you expect me to feel, lady? Like, my best friend just killed himself last week. So how, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
But through therapy, I understand how important psychology is and understanding the human mind and how trauma affects the brain and everyone differently. So we all have our own trauma responses, like that gets into PTSD and, some people are jittery or some people have the shakes. You kind of, you go through different things, right? But kind of something you touched on, which was like pushing those traumatic experiences to the back of your mind. The brain is like a filing cabinet. And you can do that. It's like shuffling cards. You can keep pushing those cards to the back, but they never leave the deck.
No, yeah, that's
You see what I'm saying? So it's always there. And the only way to deal with it that I learned now is you have to confront it and you have to be honest with yourself.
Yep.
And you got to say, hey, it's okay to feel how I felt about it.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong. No one's here to say you can't feel this way or you shouldn't be sad or you got to be a man. Don't worry about. Don't let that get you. Because that'll make you a different person too.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? You don't want to be
more heartless, more cold.
Bro.
You feel me? Like
100%.
It's not the right way. This is what the society put the norms on it.
What culture tells you to be, man. You're more of a man. I don't. It's everyone has their own definition of what a man is, but I feel like a man, someone who's able to be being vulnerable is probably like my number one thing, man. I always want to encourage my boys to be vulnerable, man. Like there's nothing wrong with sharing the way you feel. Like just because I'm a man, that means I can't have feelings. Like I'm not allowed to like be upset that you hurt me or be upset that I'm like going through something and
You're human.
I'm supposed to just act like nothing's. I was acting like nothing was going on for half my life, bro, and it got me nowhere.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
You feel me?
I think it makes it worse, honestly.
It does make it worse, bro, because it's like one traumatic thing happens, all right, I'll brush it off. I'm gonna keep going about my day. Another thing happens, another thing, and it's just like you just get to a point, man, and it's just like, bruh, like, you know, you're looking for different what is the word I'm looking
Like
for?
vices.
Yeah, looking for different vices. You're looking for ways to cope,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like once you go down that rabbit hole, bro, there's no stopping it.
Mm-hmm.
Nah.
You feel me? And it's tough, man. It
Mhm.
really is tough.
Yeah. I mean, just touching back on that, bro. Therapy,
Yeah.
understanding where you are. You know what I mean? And like you said, it's okay.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
You feel me? What you got first, Josh?
I think my depression started from like when I was 21 to 23. So growing up, like I told you guys earlier, like I was surrounded by a lot of drugs and alcohol. So at age 15, when my parents were absent, you know, me and my brothers got into cocaine,
Oof.
and
That's
that
a
was a 10-year like addiction that it was hard for me to get out of.
Yeah.
You know, battling that with like, you know, uncles, parents doing their own stuff around me, you know what I mean? Like I was doing it with uncles, I was doing it with cousins, my brothers, so like it just felt normal to do it, you know what I mean? Just and I feel like I got to a point where it just didn't numb anything no more, and I just started getting really depressed. You know, I wasn't doing anything with my life. I didn't have God in my life. I didn't have good friends around me, surrounding me, you know, pushing me to be better. And I was always taught growing up, like, you can't talk about your feelings. You know what I mean? You got to be a man. You got to be tough.
Yeah,
you know, you gotta be there. Show no weakness.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
so it was very hard to get out of that mindset. You know, seeing all the other grown men in my life being like that tough guy. You know, that doesn't share their feelings, and so it wasn't until about last year is when became free. I broke free. All thanks to God, you know,
Amen
from
on that, yeah.
10 years of addiction of cocaine and alcohol. You know, I was partying weekly,
Yeah. For substance.
doing it, yeah, daily, weekly, and just changed my friends. You know, changed my friends to godly people.
Mhm.
Went
That's
to
big.
church, grew closer to my wife, and we got closer to God together. You know,
Nice. Shout
and shout out Bree.
out Bree.
And I just thank the people I do have around me, but you know, depression's not something that should be taken lightly. You know,
No, for
especially
sure,
with
definitely.
men.
Do you think like when you left? Because that's how me and Joshua actually met. Me and Bravo, like we started our friendship doing coke together, and I think it was I don't even know if I don't think you were
Nah, I wasn't.
not last
He
year.
was
that
battling
point.
his
You were
own
2023
things.
or 2024 when you were.
What are we? 2025. So I stopped. Yeah, 2024. Like
Yeah, that's
mid,
when.
like mid
Yeah,
2024.
Every time I think about the first time I've done coke, have you done coke before?
Nah, that was
Don't.
something. Nah.
He told them.
Nah, look, let's
Before
talk
later
about it. We
answer.
here. That's why I started laughing. I'm
Yeah.
like, we here now.
I was like, don't ever do
Yeah,
it.
bro. I'm like, what's off topic? What's on? What we gonna say? But
Just go.
I'll be right back.
yeah, you go. We just edit. Yeah.
Easy,
But I was like, now where I'm from, bro. Now I'll be honest. Like, yeah, playing with the powder to us, that's what we consider like crackhead activity.
Oh, okay.
Just growing up. So like, no, listen, no,
It's
hear
true.
me out.
It's
it
true.
is
No, it's
yeah, 'cause
true.
we were
Hear
the
me out,
You
crackheads.
cause,
get,
bro,
yeah.
But
You
hear me
start
out,
acting
though.
like it. You know?
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Because bro, you start. You know the tweakers.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was tweaking.
But nah, bro, it's like you could serve, but you never did it.
Yeah.
That's one of those things. So
Okay.
you know, growing up around it, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, everybody kind of sold weed, so it's like that was normal.
Yeah, that was a normal drug, like growing
Yeah.
up. For me, at least, too.
I've-
Weed was just like everyone was doing
Everybody,
weed.
right?
Yeah.
So it was okay to do it. You
Yeah.
feel me?
Yeah.
Out here, I can see it being different though. Like East Coast, we're just
Yeah.
not getting to the point where like regulation on that stuff is a little more normal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh heck yeah, bro. Like especially down south, the Bible Belt. liquor stores aren't open on the weekend, on like Saturday. I mean, Sunday. Like it's,
You know
it's
what?
altogether
That's true.
different.
I went to so I was in Chicago for work last year,
Mhm.
and they stopped selling alcohol like at 10, like
In the
9,
clubs
10.
at 2.
Oh man.
Yeah. But convenience store or something like 11 p.m. Yeah, you got to get
for
what you
sure.
gonna get.
Yeah, you
really
better
got to
early,
plan.
yeah.
That's crazy. You start
exactly.
your pregame at 2 p.m.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, no, for real, bro. Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because when I first met Bravo, that's when you were working at EOS as a trainer.
EOS as a
Okay.
trainer.
And I remember it, I remember it, cause you always remember the first time you do a new drug.
yeah.
I asked this man for some pre-workout.
Yeah.
Oh,
he
he
came
came
with
with
bus
the
like that.
free.
So I
just
asked
throw
this
me
man
under the bus like that.
Bro, I asked this man for some
Oh my
pre-workout.
gosh.
This guy is like, I got some other pre-workout for you.
That's
I'm like, bet, bro.
crazy.
I'm like,
Bro,
bro,
That's
Bruh,
crazy.
I'm like, bet. I'm like, bet. All right. And then I took that first bump, and man, bro, I was crackhead, bro. I would take pre-workout, we do a bump, get straight to the workout, and
Ooh.
ever since,
That pump was crazy.
bro, the
That
pump was crazy
on that.
bro. The pump was
Yeah.
insane, bro.
See, bro, he
But
on every machine, probably.
I was in there 3 hours, man. I was,
Yeah. It was,
I didn't do that one.
Yeah, that's wild.
but it turned into something like worse.
Yeah,
it got
sure.
crazier.
yeah, I
sure.
got
What
worse and worse, and
yeah.
I do feel bad about it. You know what I mean? Because that's when I was still going through my depression. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, you know what? Who else can I bring with
Yeah,
me?
yeah.
You know
You
what
feel
I mean?
bad about introducing.
Yeah, I
that
do
friend
feel bad
into
about it. And
yeah.
I do pray about it. I prayed
Mhm.
about it. You know, at that time, once I was taking breaks off of it, like I felt so bad because once I was stopping for a little bit, like he was still doing it. So I was like, damn, like what
And you
did I
to
get
see-
him
you
into?
get to see it,
And I
too.
saw it firsthand. You know, I see him
Yeah,
every day.
I
Like,
know. Oh yeah.
so it put a bit like it was heavy on my heart.
That's
that-
good though. That means you got a conscience.
You know,
what I
but
mean?
it's like if not you, then it would have been someone else. You feel me? So it's like I don't ever want you to blame yourself for that because I obviously like my mindset back then was like I'm gonna try every drug at least once. That was my mindset back then. You feel me? So it's like I was like I didn't even think about like oh like it's Bravo's fault that he got me into this. Like you know we make our own decisions. You feel me?
For sure.
But that addiction, man, like I was doing coke every day that year. That whole year I was doing coke. And like that was just such a crazy like I don't even remember 2024 because it kind of felt like that whole year just like flew by in like months.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You feel me? And it's like when
Riding
you're
that
when you're
high.
on that level of like crackhead energy, bro, like the time is just moving, bro. Like
Yeah.
it's just it's so crazy, but trauma bonding is real.
Yeah.
And I feel like I even use drugs to like trauma bond with like women and like other friends just because like oh they're going through it, we're going through it, let's just get numb together. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And that was my biggest thing in 2024 was just me just doing like just coke. I wasn't much of a drinker. I drink, but I'm not much of like a let's like take shots. I'm more of like a drug user.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like to feel some with
yeah,
the
feel something
drugs.
different.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel you 100% on that, bro. Growing up, mom's was a bartender, so alcohol was always in the house.
Okay.
Mm.
And I think I tried. I think she went to the bathroom or something one night. They was having a Super Bowl party at the crib, right? And I like snuck and like took a drink out of the cup. And I remember just that burning feeling, bro, as a little kid. And I'm like, oh, this is disgusting, bro.
Yeah.
So that kept me away from alcohol for a long time. But man, my drug of choice, bro, I was always a smoker.
Yeah.
Yeah. So weed, let me specify. Yeah.
Weed is, bro. People say you can't be addicted to weed, but if you're smoking weed every day,
Dog.
you're addicted.
Yeah, you're addicted
Oh,
to
Weed,
it.
bro.
Everything's addictive.
Weed. If I could get my hands on some lean.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sheesh, I only did lean
coating.
once.
Yeah.
I think I've tried a
Oh,
bunch
man,
of stuff.
that's
So I got into like the raving era.
Yeah.
As soon as I was like 18, 19, 20. I think to 21 I stopped.
Mhm.
But we were trying like all types of drugs. Like
Molly.
we tried
Molly,
ecstasy,
ecstasy.
Molly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Have you ever on
Shrooms.
any of those?
Bro, I've
Yeah,
done
like-
so. I think it's like 4, bro. I've done acid like
I done
twice.
acid too.
I never
Bro, I
did
never
that
did
one.
that one
Tripping.
either.
It is
I heard
tripping.
it's tripping.
It is tripping.
Yeah.
Way
Acid,
more.
bro. Acid, weed. Never really been into pills, nothing like that. Never done coke, never snorted anything. But yeah, mostly I say weed, lean.
Mm-hmm.
I tried acid twice. That's
Yeah.
really. I tried Molly too, but I'm not gonna say on here why I don't like it. But the side effects, I wasn't a big fan.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. The come
the
downs are
after,
really-
The co-
yeah,
bro,
yeah,
bro,
Bro,
yeah,
that's what
yeah.
kind of makes you stop. is
Yeah,
that,
the
like,
come down,
downs
bro.
of,
Oh
Same
my
thing with
God.
acid. It's horrible. The whole next day, you just lay in the
Bro,
bed
no
sweating.
serotonin.
Can't
Like, you're
eat.
just
Yeah, bro,
Yeah.
it takes away everything. Like,
yeah, it's bad.
I remember I would have to call out for a whole week after EDC just because I had to recuperate like
Mhm.
from all the drugs and
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it was
yeah,
crazy.
and I feel like depending on your mentality too, like it affects you different.
It
You know,
does, yeah.
like some people like that's cool, like they can rock off it, cool. But like for me, I realized like I'm not saying like go ahead and do it. I don't recommend it, and I don't think they should either, just because they can go off of it. Because eventually, at a certain time, you know, things are gonna catch up.
It's
To
gonna
you.
Can't go
catch up.
It's gonna
forever.
catch up.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
gonna
go
catch up.
forever.
It's gonna catch up to
It's
you.
gonna
But I
catch up.
mean,
So,
one thing for me, for sure, like one thing that it was kind of like that kind of started my stop to everything. It's like that feeling, yeah, that like feeling after. It's like why am I doing this? Like I don't even
Mhm.
like this feeling after. Like yeah, in the meantime, it's cool, it's fun, but
Yeah.
like after you're like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, and then
Yeah.
you do it again.
you know, there's this you listen to Elevation Worship.
I'm not familiar.
You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
they're a Christian like
yeah,
Christian
Christian.
group.
Like
Christian-
Christian rap,
Yeah, I would say like
They're a band.
they're bad.
alternative. Like
No,
what?
they're like a
no,
they're
it's
like a worship
Christian.
team.
Yeah,
They're a
worship.
worship
team.
They play
Worship
worship
music,
music.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they got this song. It's called "I Know a Name," and like the chorus is like "Dead things come alive in the name of Jesus."
Mm.
So like when I think about that verse, I'm just like, bro, like I think about like in my mind when I do like a little like recollection of like my era of like doing drugs and partying and all that. If I was to put that on a movie, it would look like Project X. You feel
Yeah,
me?
exactly.
But like I was so dead, bro. Like on the
Yeah.
inside, I was
Yeah.
just like putting on that mask. No one's seeing the cuts on my wrist.
Mm.
No one knows that like I'm out here. I go back home and I'm still doing lines. I'm cutting myself. I'm listening to crazy music.
Mhm.
I'm just like in my head like 24/7, bro. Like if there's one thing that I can remember just about being depressed, and I just know that people can relate to this, is that like being depressed is like, and I think what's that dude's name? The nigga, I don't know. The guy that played The Mask. What's his name?
Jim Carrey.
Jim
Jim
Carrey.
Carrey. Yeah.
Jim Carrey says something like, "Depression is like how was." he was like, depression is like your body saying get up, but your mind is like nah, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just
I can
like
feel that.
I was just like coasting, bro. It's just like, man, when and I'm so grateful that God, like I met God, bro, because I was just like in a place where like I had no life in me, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Couldn't dig
you know, like
yourself
when
up.
people like when you see people pass away, like the color from their body just like
Yeah.
goes away,
away.
and that's how I felt, bro.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just felt like it was just a gray, gloomy cloud just like all like over me every day, bro. I used to hate being out in the daytime. I used to just love the night, like being at work, just just like engorging myself with like women and, you know, sex and drugs and all this and that, thinking like I'm the man, like I'm over here cracking every other night, like you feel me, like, and it's like it catches, like you said, like it catches up to you, bro,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and it's just like I'm grateful for the times that I'm grateful that he separated himself from me. I'm grateful for the times that me and Mario weren't talking for like a cool like year.
Mm-hmm.
Me and
Mhm.
him like separated for a little bit, and I'm grateful for that because in that time that when he left EOS, you know, that's when you got into construction.
Yeah, I went back to
Went
the
back.
Exactly. And then like he's like, now I was like seeing that he was doing better, and like I'm still doing coke trying to kick it with him, and I'm like, oh well, wow, Bravo he don't fuck with me no more. Like it's cool, whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even like him for real. You know, he wasn't even cool. Nah.
Yeah.
But I'm understanding that like just as we elevate, if the people around us are not walking with us like that, then, you know, respectfully, like I'm gonna have to like, you know, I'm
You
gonna
gotta
have to
separate.
leave. I'm gonna have to
Split
separate you. You
For
feel me?
sure.
And I was usually never on that side because I'm always about like, even while I was depressed, you know, I was still wanting to like elevate, but like being on that side, I was like, bro, like this hurts, bro. Like, you know, like this was my boy, like you feel me, like, and it was the same with him, bro. Like, but in that time, like he got right, and then when we finally came back to each other, we came back to each other better and stronger. You feel me?
Mhm.
That's
And it was
solid.
the same. It was the same with me and Mario.
Yeah, I'm realizing that now. Like, you know, you gotta distance yourself from certain people that are going through stuff. Some
Mhm.
people will take your advice, and they need that, like, they need that shoulder, and I think that's important. But then once you realize like that person's like just gone, like as hard as it is, you know, and like as much as they're gonna like probably point fingers and blame at you, you gotta kind of let it go and separate yourself, because like that's their own like mission they gotta go on, something they gotta search themselves. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I told him, like, you know, there's times where I think I blamed him, and then I started blaming myself, you know, for the times that we didn't talk. But I realized like we just we needed to go find ourselves.
Yeah.
And it wasn't gonna matter like whether like I had him there or not, because like I said, he was going through things that he needed to figure out himself.
Mhm.
And then I started going through things that I think I needed to figure out like myself. And it's just crazy how it happened, because it literally happened like that, you
It's
know.
so crazy because I think when I stopped doing coke, I think that's when you like kind of started, or was I? Am I?
Nah,
wrong?
you was still doing
I
it.
was still doing.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I can't even remember things right.
Yeah,
bro.
Like,
and
bro, you was
Yeah,
still,
he said, nah, you was
out
still
there,
Nah,
gang.
you was still on
you
it,
was
bro.
still,
You was
you
still
was still
on
turned.
it,
Yeah, and that's like I had like moments where I've got him involved in it, because I was like, look at this life, you know, like I was thinking that I was like on a high, you know, but that's what
Yeah.
this stuff does to you, and you know, it makes you think you're
Exactly.
Superman,
Mm-hmm.
you all that. But
And-
I mean, we took like a little, I think it was like a little
like
break.
6 months.
No, I mean, we were like not talking for a while, but then when we talked again, we both like did coke together.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
and then a little bit after that, like we kind of again like kind of separated a little bit, and then it was like a month or two, and that's when like I finally started getting right.
Yeah.
And when I started getting right, he was also trying to get right, and it was just perfect, because I think we finally both like
Yeah.
saw the like the image, the angle, you know, what we want to be. So it was like perfect, because like
Mm-hmm.
he held me up and I held him up, you
Yeah.
know, and like the
Yeah.
times that we was like wanting to go
brothers right
back.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the importance. That's why brotherhood is so important, bro.
Mhm.
Like, because I feel like I know we could be vulnerable with women, but like with men, it's just different because like you don't worry about getting like there's like no pressure when it comes to your boys.
I know you understand.
Exactly, especially
Yeah.
when you've been boys for so long.
Mhm.
Like it gets easier and easier to just come to your boy about something. You feel
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And like I even like you know my like I said, my depression started because I was jealous, and I was jealous of Mario because of the attention that he got from women.
Mm.
And women are the one thing that I feel like causes so much damage to a man
Mm.
that makes them, you know, become, you know, and it might not even be intentional. Sometimes, you know, I know there's girls who didn't even mean to hurt me, but it was because of my own whatever I was going through that I kind of just like was delusional in the sense that made myself feel worse about it. You feel me? But I do think that women are, this is my personal opinion, but I do believe that women are one of the main influences in a man's life that can either that break him. And there have been so many women in my life that, excuse me.
Shout out to Ghost.
Shout out Ghost.
Shout out Ghost.
Shout out Ghost.
Shout out
Yeah,
Ghost.
yeah,
Yeah.
There's been so many women in my life that have just like kind of pushed me to the edge.
Mm.
You feel me? But one thing I'm grateful for is that we never let a woman get in between our relationship. The only thing that's
That's
ever
real.
got in between our relationship was each other. You feel me?
Mhm.
So we never let a woman like, you know, get in between like our friendship, because to me that's the corniest thing that could break up a man's, like a brotherhood.
Oh
is
yeah,
a
it's
woman, bro. Like
It can happen.
yeah,
though.
and it
It
can happen.
happen.
It can happen. You
Yeah.
feel me? And we've always been transparent with each other. But you know, I remember growing up and telling Mario about these feelings, and like he was just telling me like you don't need to feel this way. Like, you know, you don't need to be jealous of me. You don't need. But I was so comparison was like that was just like that spirit that I was dealing with for so long was comparison, bro. I was comparing myself to everything, anything and everyone I can compare myself to. I was doing it, bro. And it was just like as Pastor Benny was talking about today, just being able to be the person that God has made you to be instead of like pretending to be someone that you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big thing too. Like you start to like manifest this version of yourself that wants to fit in so bad and wants all these eyes on him and this and that, and you just make that your new identity. And that's kind of where Ballo came from, bro. Because once they called me Ballo, like I wasn't Joshua anymore. I was Ballo. I was the only black kid on the soccer team, so that already gave me an identity. I was already kind of different and already kind of standing out because I was the only black kid on the soccer team. And then I grew up around Mexicans, so I was a black kid that was speaking Spanish. You know, I was listening to Spanish music, so like I created this whole identity for people just to like me, and I stuck with that for the X amount of years of my life, and it just like I forgot who I was, bro. And that's damaging to forget who you are, bro. Some people never get that back. You feel me? Some people never can remember like who they are, and like people would always ask me, bro, like, you know, what do you like to do? What do you? And I could never answer the question, bro, because I just didn't know who I was. You feel me? And you know, that trauma can do that to you, bro. That trauma could turn you into a different person, like quite literally. You feel me? Like quite literally. And then you mix that in with a little bit of drugs, a little bit of
some substances.
Yeah, you start losing yourself. For sure.
Quicker than you think. Too.
And I look back at older pictures of myself, and I could just tell what era of life I was in when I had the beard.
Yeah.
For me, it's always when he had the buzz cut. When Mario had the buzz cut,
that was my down.
That was his
smoking
down,
cigs. Bro was gambling. I was like, I don't recognize his bro.
Yeah, thankfully, like that was like a very short time. Like I thank God. I thank my mom. My mom was a big piece for me. My mom like sat me down, and she like, I mean, just seeing her cry, like. It broke me. It broke me. Like my mom is like been my best friend. Like I hung out with her a lot, like growing up. My mom was always strict on me, but I think it was just cause like that relationship I had with her. Like I always respected my mom. My mom, hardworking woman. Just seeing where she come from, I always respected her. I always had so much respect for my mom. So her sitting down having that talk with me, like really helped. And I messed up, you know, like that really did trigger like the point where I was gonna start, but I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not gonna say like I was like from that point on, boom, clean slate, good. Like nah, I had went back. I only went back like once or twice, and then, you know, thankfully, and the time, and what's crazy is at that time that she was helping me, I looked at her like an enemy. Like I knew that was my mom. I loved her. I'm not saying like I really looked at her as an enemy, but I looked at her like, why are you doing this to me? Like, why are you taking me away from this stuff? Like I'm happy. Like this is what I want to do. But I'm so grateful she did that. Like because like not even too long. Like I think once I started just seeing like what life is without it, I was like, man, it's
peaceful, man.
It's just as good. It's just as good.
Peaceful. Beautiful and it's peaceful. It's not easy, but it's definitely like you have a different light to you, like a different confidence. No, people Godfidence. That's what they be calling it. You feel me? Like once you get to that greener side of the grass, like it's just like you start to just like remember like I just be reminiscent of like how much I thought that I wasn't gonna make it to 25 because I thought I was gonna have killed myself by then, and I feel like there's plenty of times where I should have died, man. I used to cut myself like rigorously, bro, like crazy, man. Like I was slicing up and down. I would slice one way, then I start slicing the other way, and like my arm was like just completely like messed up, bro. And I was just praying for a death, bro. I was praying that the drugs would take me out. I was praying to get hit by a car. I was praying for all types of death. But you know, God don't bring death. You feel me? Only life. You feel me? So it's like
he had a plan.
I'm glad that didn't get answered. You know, the enemy could have took me out plenty of times. And each day that we're here, bro, is another reason to believe that God has a purpose for us.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize that, man, because like he needs a bathroom. Yeah, it's back there. I'm starting to realize that because there are plenty of times where I wanted to give up. But you know, a slimmer part of me knew that I had some type of purpose here, and I'm glad that I hung on to that because I know if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be here today.
Exactly.
Touching on that, bro, what is life without God? It's purposeless.
Yeah.
You don't really have a point. What are we doing? We're going to work every day for what? To pay bills, to do stuff, to get older.
Yeah.
And when you don't have that attachment or that connection, I should say, that in itself can bring on depression, bro. You realize, like, man, I'm getting older, bro. I'm working this job. I've been here however many years. I can't retire till 60 something. Like, this is my life. I'm working so I can pay bills. I can't really travel. Like, bro, that's, to me, that is depression.
Yeah.
Like, life without God. Yeah, nah, I've experienced it in short periods where God has always been there, but you don't really
You don't feel him.
yeah,
separated.
because you're so separated.
Yeah.
And I heard someone say recently, man, and it kind of got it to click for me, is you can't hear God when you're drunk or high.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why I think John says it, to be sober minded. You feel me? And
Have to
we
be.
got to stay sober minded so that way we're able to hear the voice of God and feel the Holy Spirit and hear the Holy Spirit. You feel me? And when we're intoxicated or high or we're coked out or whatever, like we don't hear we only hear the enemy speak.
Exactly, and
You know?
that's where it's dangerous. That's where it's dangerous.
Or at dark
bro.
places, like God's not in dark places. He's not gonna be at the club with,
Yeah.
at the bar with you, or at that trap house. You know what I mean? Like that's what we have to understand.
Yeah, bro. You feel me?
That's where it gets spooky.
Yeah, man, that's when all those
Yeah.
thoughts start coming in.
Yeah.
Cause man, like just recently, like I told him, cause I was like, lately, like I don't know what it is. Like I've been talking to God, but I just don't feel Him. And it's just like a little brief time where I was going through the storm, and when you're going through that, that's when like, man, you don't hear Him, because like I said, you're once you're going through something like that, or like you're doing stuff like that, like you start hearing like you said, you start hearing those bad thoughts, the old thoughts, they start coming through. But definitely, I think He was there with me.
Always.
He was for
yeah.
sure there.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was definitely for sure there with me. I think He was allowing me to go through this because it was
100%.
just like, it was a test to see like if I was gonna overcome it, if I was gonna like
What you were gonna
follow,
do.
if I was gonna choose Him over these
Exactly,
stuff.
yeah.
And I definitely did. And I told him, it's like, man, I felt like I was feeding my Holy Spirit, because like I feel that warmth inside me. I feel at peace, like once I started doing that, like you feel it, like it's just a feeling. Like once you start feeling God, you're doing something right.
Yeah,
you're
there you
moving
go.
the right way.
Yeah, and
Most
that's one of God's ways of speaking.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like what you were talking about, is like there's a time of teaching and then there's a time of testing.
Yeah.
And God, you may not hear the voice when, like in school, the teacher's talking, teaching, you going back and forth is a lot more clear. But test time is dead quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What are you going to do? What have you learned?
That's powerful right
what do you
there.
remember?
Yeah.
You know what I
Test
mean?
time is
Facts,
quiet.
facts.
Yeah, so it's, you got to realize that's where faith comes into play.
Yeah.
And that's how it helps strengthen it. When you don't have it, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
And the enemy is louder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Temptation.
Oof.
Bro, I can talk for days, man. When I first moved out here to Vegas, right? I got out of the military. I moved up here probably like a month after. And I was like, all right. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was like, all right, look, Tony, you got to do something different. You're out. You got a clean slate. I can do whatever, be whoever. And I'm in a city where you can literally do both of those. Be whoever. And it's a
And
quick
do
city.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's a hustler city. Vegas is
Yeah.
a hustler city.
For
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
And bro, I was like, look, man, we're gonna remain humble. And this is me, like, just kind of my inner voice telling myself, like, all right, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a solid gym, get around some good people, want to build some good habits, get back into working out. And I want to get around a good core group of guys, in that process with similar interests. I'm not coming here to party, to drink, do drugs, like none of that. I originally moved for networking. So during that time period, bro, I was abstinent. And man, they probably lasted, I would say, 4 to 6 months. But bro, during those 4 to 6 months, I don't know if they could feel it, but bro, any and everywhere, it's just like eye contact. Or bro, I'd be at Trader Joe's and like a chick would walk up with a sticky note, like, hey, I don't know if you're single or not, but like, here you go. And I'm like, I ain't never dealt with this
Bro
before.
got aura.
Like, you feel me?
Bro got aura
Yeah, I
for
know.
real.
I'm like, this is different.
I'm relating to that, because I did the same thing. It's like I did
Bro.
it for like, I think it was like 6 months, 8 months.
You
I
could
think it was
tell
like
the
6 to 8
difference.
months. Bro, yeah, like as much as in my head I wanted to be like you can't look at women, and I tried like so hard. I'm not gonna lie, in that moment, like, yeah, I mean, naturally you just, I
You're a
feel like
man.
it's just a temptation,
Yeah.
you want to. I mean, I'm proud of myself for like going through that. I think that definitely builds character. I know
Oh,
it
most
probably built it
definitely.
in you.
Yeah, oh,
For
bro.
sure.
Yeah, I was, and then I'm practicing semen retention at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm not, no masturbation, no, I'm not, you know what I mean? Just getting your mind off of sex because that's an addiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like porn is free for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? So, bro, it's like once you kind of get out of that perverse mind and you're able to think clear, it changes you.
Oh man, my porn addiction started. Well, it's ended.
That's where we going.
Nah, I mean we gotta talk about it. It's real stuff because this also is like I feel like a big part of like that leads you to depression.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh
bro,
yeah.
Because I started watching porn when I was 13. So when I was 13, my boys, I think they found like a magazine, or they found like they found something.
Did y'all grow up with DVDs or any? Y'all didn't have DVDs.
They had them. They definitely had them.
I couldn't watch DVD.
I remember like
so I was in the apartment, bro. My mom pulled up.
They didn't have it.
Bro, I remember having we had a desktop computer.
Oh man.
And the computer was in the living room. So like, if you think about my apartment, like, so
everybody saw what you're.
No. So like, this is the living room. I'm on the. So this is the living room. The chair's right here. The TV's right here. So we're on the couch. And then in front of me is like the dining table, and then on the other side is like the counter where the kitchen's at, and then like that's where the laptop was.
So it's like open. It's like open layout. Yeah.
And then like my mom's room is like down the hall. So like I'm over here like gooning, and then like
gooning. His words, bro.
I'm able to like, see if my mom's coming down the hall and stuff. You feel me? And she almost caught me one time. I think she knew what I was doing. I think she knew what I was doing, but the way you see women once you like have that perverse mind, bro, like I was thinking about having sex with my teachers, my superiors, my bosses. I'm trying to have sex with married women. I'm trying to have sex with whoever. You feel me? Like I'm thinking of massages, women workers, the ones that be working.
Yeah.
I'm trying to try it all. I'm trying to try everything. You feel me? And when you don't see, and that's I think I don't know this for sure because I'm not like no psychologist, but I do think that could be possible reason why men like to rape women. Because they have that perverse mind, and then they can't get what they want, they just take it. You feel me? They get so upset because they can't find the woman to like have sex with, so they're like, I'm gonna just go find whoever and just take it from them. You feel me? So it's like, and when I wasn't getting, I ain't do none of that, but when I wasn't getting it, I would just remember being so angry at myself, like just like, man, I'm not getting none, like, and then it messes with your ego, and then you think you less of a man because you're not getting none, and then your boys over here, yo, bro, you know her, so it's just like, you feel me? One of them, it's one of them, bro, and then, man, like that was one of the things that God had to deliver me from, and I'm still being delivered from it today because I'm practicing abstinence as well, and lust was just one of those things, man. And that's probably one of the biggest things in all men is lust. Just because of how free and accessible it was. I was on OnlyFans, bro. I probably spent like over like, I want to say close to a band just spending money on OnlyFans content, bro. My mom she made a bank account. It's not joint, but like she can go in and like deposit money if she wanted to. She can see like my transactions.
Access to it,
Bro. How's she gonna come up to me and tell me what's OnlyFans? I'm like,
it's a cooking show.
I told her I was buying workout subscriptions, bro. I was like, I just bought this workout manual, like. But she started doing her research as well too. But man, the way that can that stuff just destroys you, bro.
Yeah.
And man, like that porn can really lead you to that depression, man. Because once you're not getting what you want, you start to feel less. You start to think you're ugly. You're insecure. You're like, oh man, like my homie's getting something. How come I can't get none? You feel me? And it's just like a repeating cycle, bro.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy. It's bro. It's so crazy. Especially
it's an addicting feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, just having sex. I mean, the feeling of it. Like obviously, like your dopamine levels, like. That feeling of like releasing, like that's like when you talk about semen retention, like that was like a big deal for me, like that I did that as well. Like same thing, no sex, no masturbation, things like that. Man, it was tough, but like, man, it teaches you like a whole nother level of like being able to go with that, because I think it just becomes so natural. And just like what he was talking about, like porn, like I feel like it's watered down sex in general. Like
Oh,
now you
man.
can't, like if there was no porn to exist and everybody had to figure out sex themselves, I promise you everybody would enjoy their normal sex life. It'd be very vanilla. It'd be more about connection. But with these like videos, you know, they're showing you like threesomes, you know, they're showing
Crazy
you
stuff.
like swinger stuff, all that stuff. They're watering it down. You start really losing the vision of what sex was. Like sex
what
is
it
not
is, yeah.
important no more. You know, it's like just thrown around now.
Yeah,
And I'm not gonna lie, like I had my fair share where like, you know, I thought it was like, oh, I'm cool, you know, if I'm having it or if I'm getting something that makes me a man, like I need to be like a womanizer type of thing.
Yeah.
But then I realized, like, you know what, like at the end of the day, like what do I see? I see myself having a family and loving one girl. And so like that's what got me like really started on that. And I had already kind of like I think I'm pretty chill when it came to like messing with women. Like, you know, I really didn't go like crazy with that. But still it just like made me feel like it should be more. And it was just even like relationships from that point on was just kind of like, I'm not gonna have sex with you until like I know you're gonna be my girl or my wife. And it has to be like a commitment. That was like a big commitment to me now. Versus back then, like I'm not gonna lie, it's like if I'm feeling you, you feeling me, cool.
let's
But
get
there was
straight
no
to it.
importance to it. It was
There's
no
no
importance
connection
to it.
for real.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah.
importance to it. So it's just like all these things they like water it down. Like especially porn, like everybody just thinks that it's just like a fun thing to do. It's just an activity. Let's get together and let's do it. Like nah, it's really like something more. Like I mean, it's how we give life. You know, like just how we procreate. You know, so it's like that's why I started seeing like the importance of it and like why it's important to like not really be like doing that around. Because even like with men, like I'm be honest, that's another thing. That's the reason why like that's such a toxic thing. Is like, you know, with your boys, you're talking about like, oh, like I laid with this girl, I laid with that girl. You know, like you comparing and stuff like that. I feel like it's making you more of a man.
Y'all
And
wanna
in
share
reality,
stories and stuff.
to be honest, I feel like now like that I realize it, I think it makes you more of a man to be able to stick to one woman or to not really like look at these women as like whatever, you know, because
Objectify 'em.
that's harder to
Yeah.
do. That's harder to do. It's so easy just to go and do whatever you want to like kind of do that. Like that's how I started viewing it. I'm like, man, it's just because it's easy. It's just because it's easy. Like, you know, do you want it easy or do you want it like you want it tough, but you want to be like, and it's a fulfilling feeling knowing that like I'm not like easily accessible. You kind of like, it's kind of like anything that you really have, like, you know, like you kind of you choose the hard route naturally. You feel more
You respect it
accomplished.
more.
Yeah, you respect it more. It has more value. You know, now if everybody was driving Lamborghinis, I promise you, you know, you don't want a
You're not
Lamborghini.
gonna want the Lambo.
Yeah, that's why they make it so expensive and the value and everything like that, because not many people have them. So you see like, oh, wow. So it's the same thing with ourselves. We got to treat ourselves like cars. You know, we can't just be like everybody driving it around.
Bro, man, my boys recently, they kind of, and this is something I experienced a little bit in my younger years, but there's women out here who are succubus. Like they're energy drainers. They know, you might not even realize it as a man, but you have a light, right? And, you know, our testosterone and, you know, what we have naturally as men, bro, we have like 8 billion life forms sitting inside of us right now. Just there. You know what I'm saying? So that's energy. And the longer you don't use it, it kind of just regenerates everything from, you know, your cells, your hair, skin, everything. It's what gives you your life force.
Yeah.
So when you just putting that out there and just, you know, spreading it everywhere, bro, it's like you're really giving yourself away, spreading yourself thin. And one of my guys recently was telling me about how they would lay with, you know, these girls, and they had access to so many different women. And, you know, he's, you know, a producer out here. I won't say his name or anything, but he was like, bro, I'm having my pick. Like, he's showing me stuff on Instagram, like, oh, bro, look at her, look at this chick. He was like, bro, you know, her the other day. I'm like, bro, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, bro, you playing a dangerous game. Like, not only on, like, you know, the STD side of, you know, what could happen, but it's like, bro, you opening yourself up to too many energies
bro.
at once.
Oof.
For
That's
sure.
powerful. Listen,
Bro.
you know, sin leads to death, and it could be, you know, literal death, or it can be like just your death of self.
Your soul.
And I feel like the more that I was like indulging in that sex, bro, like, you know, and everyone can testify, bro, you just feel more empty because it's like you're having sex with all these women, but it's like, what is it like? At the end of the day, you're still gonna like once she leaves, then what? Like now you're just at home, like you're still by yourself,
Yep.
and then you repeat that cycle. But it's like we all want love. All men want love, bro. As much as they try to like. Shout out Ghost.
Shout out Ghost. The verbs coming.
As much as men trying to be like, I don't want no girl, I don't need man. Just as much as a woman says she don't want no man, need no man, everyone wants
You need
love,
it.
bro. Everyone, God doesn't want us to be alone. You feel me? So it's like there's a big cultural battle between men and women, and I seen it. I'm not on that side of like TikTok or like Instagram, but I was on that red pill side where it was like I'm pretty sure you know those guys. I forget their names, but
Talking about Fresh and Fit.
Yeah, Fresh and Fit, bro. Those guys are so annoying. I'm not trying to throw shade or hate, but it's just like the way they go about speaking about women and men need to be doing this and need to be doing that. Like that's not God, bro.
No.
Like it's not. That's this culture. You got men telling you, and they're having like all these like these different types of women on there, and it's like they're trying to tell you that you need to treat her like this, and like I'm listening to it, and this is even before I gave my life to Christ. I'm like looking at it, and I'm just like it don't make no sense. You're telling me to be disrespectful so that a woman could like me more, and it's like nah. And now that I see it, bro, it's like they just don't got God in them because like that's why we were just talking about this at our Bible study the other day. I'm gonna invite you to the next one. But I was talking about being equally yoked.
Gotta be.
And it's like when you're with a woman that is not yoked, or you're with a man that's not yoked with the Lord, it's like he's following the ways of culture, or she's following the ways of culture, and she's just gonna drag you back to that.
Yep.
But when you guys are both yoked in the Lord and you guys are both pursuing the Lord and pursuing Christ, like to me it's like there's no way it could fail unless it wasn't in God's will for y'all to be together. But it's just like when you got two people who are actively pursuing God, it's like how can that fail? Because you guys both know how to treat each other. You know how to love each other because you're gonna love yourself how you love God, and you're gonna love your spouse like how God loves you. You feel me? So it's like it's just a different, like the relationship just flourishes differently when you're yoked in the Lord. You feel me?
Yeah.
And I thank God, bro. I was just thinking about how much I wanted like all these old relationships to work. And I'm like thinking, I'm glad that none of these relationships worked, bro. Because I was trying to talk to like all these women. I'm so thankful that none of them worked out because I probably wouldn't be who I am today.
You wouldn't.
You feel me? So.
Can I speak on the relationship one for a
Yeah.
second? So I've been with my wife for 10 years. Married too.
Amen.
Yeah. Just celebrated 10 years yesterday.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Let's go.
But so we've been with each other for so long that we've had God in our relationship and we haven't. And I can tell you guys this, like having God at the center of a relationship, both of you guys, not just one person, because you got to water each other.
Yeah,
That's
for
one
sure.
thing, you know what I mean? Because if
That's
only
powerful.
one person is chasing God and the other one is out chasing culture, like the relationship is not going to work.
Yeah.
So I would just say just have God in the center of a relationship. Don't put your spouse before God, you know what I mean? And the same for the other spouse. But your relationship will flourish. Like I know
agree.
mine is like it's just following God.
Yeah,
Hey, man,
it
shout out to
gets-
that, bro. I love hearing like happy marriages.
Me
or
too.
marriages that are working
It's so
out.
beautiful.
Sure.
Like I got
Yeah.
goosebumps just
Gives
hearing
you
that.
hope, it gives you like
Yeah,
hope
man.
in it.
Yeah.
I love seeing I love seeing
beautiful.
people in love.
Yeah,
like
me too, man.
it just like gives you hope. Like a lot of people nowadays are bitter and they be hating on it.
Yeah.
Like man, that's why
Yeah.
like a lot of times like that's what pushed me away from a lot of social media. Cause like everybody like if they don't have something or if they gone through their own traumatic experiences, they want to push it on other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
sure
dropped a lot
about
of
that.
boys about like for that, you know, because I used to have a lot of boys that would like cheat on their girls, or you know, they want 2 or 3 girls,
And
they
that was
try
the
to push
that was
you
the
up.
culture too, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember like even like some of the boys that me and Mario used to kick it around. I'm hearing their stories, and I'm like, yeah, like I'm like hearing how they're in these girls want them and like how they're like hooking up, and I'm like, bro, don't you got a girl? Like, and here I am, I'm wanting that. Like I'm like, bro, like there's men who
You
want
gotta
what
go
you
with
have,
that
what you
shit.
have, yeah, their
and
relationship.
you're out here like doing this to
Yeah,
them,
you tripping.
and it's like there's like there's a clash between men and women, who wants to be more dominant and stuff like that. But it's like a lot of men want to blame women, But a lot of these women are the way that they are because of some of the men out here. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here
Yeah.
and just say that all women are bad, but obviously like there's two sides to a coin. You feel me? So it's like there's a lot of men that have created women to be the way they are now,
Oh yeah.
and then
Vice
there's a
versa.
lot of men out here that are the way they are because of the way
women.
women have
Bro.
treated them too. You feel me? And it's like we could play that. I don't play that game at all because I know I'm gonna get hurt. I'm gonna be the one who's hurt because I'm not a petty person
Mhm.
like that. Like I'm more petty like in a different way, but
Mhm.
and I'm praying for that too. But
Yeah,
you know,
Praying for pettiness.
I don't
Deliverance.
like playing that game. I don't like playing that game whatsoever.
I got a question. So, for y'all, like, what are like I would say, like, what are some of the key things that you think like push you to depression, like key points, like in life, and like what are some of the key things that you did to like turn them around? Meaning, like, just even like what we have, like the finances, cause that can relationships, like relationship with God, your mentality, like old ways of thinking, and like now new ways of thinking, and maybe some habits that like you do to like keep yourself there.
I think for me, I won't really just some key point. I think for me it was acknowledging what was making me feel the way I was feeling. That's one thing I tell everyone, like if you're ever feeling some type of way, whatever it is, insecurity, you know, you feel whatever, you always have to find the root of the problem. Not necessarily how you're feeling about the problem, but why you're feeling that way. Like I'm like, so like my insecurity, like why do I hate myself? Why do I don't like this? Why do I hate my life? And it all stemmed from the fact that I was jealous. And I'm like, okay, once I acknowledge the fact of me being jealous, why was I jealous? And then from then on, you can start to deconstruct and really figure out how to like start taking steps on like improving that. And for me, it was just self love. And you know, I had to find myself. You feel me? And when I did that, it was the way I did it was, you know, eventually through Christ. You feel me? So that was what kind of like helped me kind of take steps forward into like my recovery to, you know, my healing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
For me, the same thing. For me, it was like comparison.
Yeah.
Like they said, like comparison is a thief of joy.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, like, man, like I didn't realize really what I had and like who I was, and not necessarily like in the point of like comparison, but just understanding that like I have my great qualities, that person's gonna have their great qualities, and I kind of let it like eat me up and make me worse. For me, it was like I would say like my success. Like I know I was capable of doing a lot and all that, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and that pressure of like feeling like I needed to be somewhere kind of did the opposite of like get me going. It actually made me like quit and give up. And that was just that pressure I put on myself because it wasn't really like around anybody. Because I'd say like definitely like I'm not anywhere where I'm like really like, I mean, I'm proud of myself. I'm not gonna say I'm not proud of myself, but I'm not where I really want to be. But I'm okay, like, and I don't really feel bad about it. And I understand that it's gonna be a process to getting to where I want to be. But before, I used to let it like beat myself up so bad just because I used to see like also two people like having careers and stuff like that I didn't have, or like owning things and getting stuff, and I felt like I needed to be in that spot like as a man. So like that was one thing that really drove me into like depression. I mean, I had outside factors, but I'd say that's probably like the key thing. It's just not even like not really feeling like enough, and not really like feeling like I was doing stuff to be like I just wasn't really proud of myself of like where I was going.
That's solid. I think with me, man, is I've only really dealt with depression about 3 times in my life. If I can be really real about it. I think the first time when I was 18, just graduated, and like a quick backstory, bro. So I got kicked out of my mother's house in middle school, 7th grade. It was an incident involving a shooting, and yeah, she didn't really allow my father to come by the house unless he was coming to like discipline me. So that's kind of how I always saw him, was like, you know, you see him, you know, you're getting a whooping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, bro, mom's done beat you, then I'm gonna call your pops. He gonna come through, whoop you real quick, and like after that, bro, you just lock yourself in the door. I mean, lock yourself in the room, shut the door, and you just in there, bro. Like you feel worthless, you feel less than, you know what I mean? It's nobody there to cheer you up or really explain how you feeling and what you're going through. But I lived with him until I graduated high school, and just carrying around that hurt and pain, bro. Like hurt people hurt people.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, and it's a
Oof.
lot of people I've hurt that I can
Powerful
admit
right
as a
there.
man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of things that I've done just being affiliated, you know, with certain people and certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, bro, I incident as, you know, as a new guy in middle school, 8th grade, you know, involving a knife where a guy was kind of like trying to like bully me in a sense, and I just got tired of it. So one day I took like a pocket knife to school, and you know, just had to do a what I call a temperature check. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, just see how you really feeling.
Mm.
And after that incident, I ended up going to alternative school. And bro, that's, you know, that's where you get around, you know, some of the worst or, you know, worst kids, and, you know, they have it, you know, a certain way. But all of that to say, man, when I graduated, moved back to my mother's house, and I tried community college for like 2 or 3 months. Wasn't working for me, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to go to community college, didn't really have a car, trying to borrow people's car, you know what I mean, get to and from, having to have money, because now you in school, you know, you see people that come from different walks of life, and, you know, they got nicer cars, or
Yeah.
it's like, how do you have money as a college kid? Like,
Yeah.
I never, you gotta do something,
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
Like,
You
a
gotta
man.
do something, bro. Like, and it's just like, bro, trying to live the straight and narrow. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, clean slate. I'm not gonna sell weed. I'm not gonna sell drugs. I'm just gonna go to school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, I need money. You know, that costs gas. I'm having to drive an hour one way just to get to school, and then, you know what I mean? Then you gotta eat. You at school all day.
It's a lot.
Mom's wasn't working. You know, we on the brink of having the house repossessed. Had to do a hardship letter with Citibank, paying the mortgage, chipping in on bills, this and that. It's just me and her. You know, we rocking out at that time. And, you know, a lot of that stuff I take as much blame as I can, but, man, you know, I like what you said earlier, talking about how your mom was there for you to kind of say, hey, look, this is what you need to do. This is what you're doing, and this is what you need to stop doing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really have that. It was more of like she was pouring gasoline on a fire that was already burning.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every morning, bro, like I'm getting cussed out on the wake up. Like, you know, wake yo, you know, up, you know, we got bills, you know, you go get a job, do that, bro. Crazy. And man, I'm working temp service, trying to work at Lowe's, wherever I can just to bring some income in.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was never enough, because I was having the fun, not only my lifestyle, but hers as well. And I didn't really realize it until I got older, but like my dad would always tell me, like, man, you know, your mom is grown. Like, bro, you're not her responsibility. She's yours. I mean, you're hers.
Mm-hmm.
So she should be helping you. And I'm like, nah, like I still had that little boy mentality of I'm the man of the house. I got to take care. I got to hold it down on the home front.
Yeah.
And bro, it hit me bad at 18. I remember just laying, it'll be days I wouldn't even eat. I would just lay in the bed all day.
That's real.
Escapism. Like, bro, I would just
Yeah.
sleep, and like my escape was dreaming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could go to a place,
Yeah,
you
for
feel me?
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Just lock the door, nobody could come in. You know, they'd be at the door, hey, you hungry? You want? I wouldn't even respond. I would be up, and I just wouldn't even say nothing, bro.
Yeah.
Because I know it's like, you know, you just sleep it away, that pain that you're dealing with, not feeling like you can talk to anybody. Like, I wasn't used to communicating my feelings. I never had nobody to
Yeah.
talk to or sit me down and validate my opinion. You know what I mean? All these things I learned as a man that are important to childhood development and self-esteem and, you know, stuff that you should have. And, bro, that, it could have got ugly at 18, man. And I just say, really, bro, just knowing that it had to be more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was sitting one day. I was like, yo, I got to get out of here. Like,
Yeah.
this ain't it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to, you know, the homies, they doing what they do in the street every day. And it's like, I know I don't want that, you know, kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, bro, just realizing, man, you got to have a bigger plan, and, you know, understanding that your purpose can't be this. I can't just work all of my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's more to life, bro.
For sure.
But yeah, that, and then, you know, the situation with my boy Will, and, you know, a couple other things. But yeah, man, purpose.
Purpose.
You gotta chase.
big.
You gotta chase
Yeah.
purpose, bro.
For
You
sure.
gotta realize it's something to life.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, I think you have to watch out with what influences you. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a little backstory. So, I grew up being a mama's boy, so like I was always with her. And at the age of 14, before we got taken away by CPS, like was at the time where my mom was at her peak, like drug addiction. You know,
Yeah.
she was popping pills, doing, methamphetamine, and being the mama's boy. Like I was always with her. So like there was a time where we were on our way somewhere, and she was just so high off pills. Like I would go meet the person for her. You know what I mean? She'd give me the money. She couldn't get out. I'd go get it, go give it back to her, like watch her take it in front of the car, like right there.
Crazy.
Yeah, so there's a time where like she was like falling asleep on the road, and she was like, "You gotta drive, you gotta drive." Like her eyes aren't even opening. Like so she goes in the passenger side, and I'm 14 years old driving on the main street of Charleston, in Decatur. Like I don't even know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Got to the place that we're going to, and then she just just watching her do more and more stuff. So it just influenced me kind of that, watching my dad do cocaine, watching everybody around me do it, like, and it just led, looking up to my brothers and seeing him introduce me to that, like, is just something that I felt like I was very vulnerable with influence, like even recently when I was 21, 20, like, I feel like music was a big influence in my life.
Most
with,
definitely.
like the stuff that we listen is what we're going to want to do. You know what I mean? If you listen to music that makes you want to party and do drugs, that's what you're gonna end up doing the next couple of days, So I feel like for me, I had to change like the influence of people that were doing bad around me, the music, social media. Like I had to flip all that out, and I know definitely like I have that under control with God's will, God's power that helps me.
Amen, bro.
God forbid y'all looked at my For You page on Instagram a couple years ago, man. It was kind of tough, but yeah, the music is definitely like it's a big thing. The things that we let influence our mind is what eventually is going to become our reality. You feel me? Even the things that we watch, all the things that we're consuming, it's just like it's like feeding your flesh versus feeding your spirit. You feed your flesh more sex, more drugs, more, secular music, like all this crazy stuff. Like that's just, you're gonna become that, bro. And we don't want to become our sin. We don't want to live in sin. Feel me? Because like I said, that sin just leads to more death.
The wager of sin is death.
But yeah, influence is definitely one of those things that you got to be careful what you let into your life, because some people we were talking off screen about like good trees bear good fruit, bad trees bear bad fruit, so you just got to have that discernment when it comes to like the things that we let inside our lives. And because we all have purpose, man. We all have purpose, and it's just up to us to find that get that relationship with God, and really just get in our prayer closet and figure out what that purpose is for us. Because we each, like Pastor Benny was just talking about today, we're built different. As Christians, God has built us individually to be different than the rest, and in being built different, like we each come with our unique qualities and stuff like that. And I think like fitness has been like one of those things too that have been that I feel like we're all we all lift. So it's kind of been like one of those things that are that God put in us to do. And it's crazy because you can, like, man, this is what's so good about God. Like God could put you in a place where you can just speak life into people, man. I have been seeing more people wear, like, this is what's crazy. I'm so ADHD on this, but like when I started doing coke, I didn't know how many people were doing coke until I started doing it. So like you don't even think of the people who, like, I was like, dang, you do coke, bro? Like that's crazy. But it's the same with Christ. Like the more I've been getting into Christ, like I've been seeing more people wear Christ stuff at the gym, and maybe they've been there all along. I just wasn't. My eyes
weren't open.
My eyes weren't open. But like, I went to the gym one day and I saw someone put a Bible verse on a sticky note at the gym, and I looked it up, bro, and it was just a powerful. I forgot what it was, but I was just like, it's just what I needed. You feel me? And I think like fitness has helped me in a lot of ways, man. Like just creating like that discipline, being able to bring that discipline into other parts of my life. And I think it's a good way to just like. I think it's a healthy way to get out of your head. You feel me? It's a healthy way to just like attack your body and attack your mind, and just like really go in there and just like whatever you're feeling, man, just throw it out on the weights.
Yeah.
You feel me? And you build connections in the gym, man. Like me and Mario, like we built like something strong off the gym. You know, healthy competition, man. Like pushing each other in the gym, and just bringing that mindset into our personal lives. You know, I met him at the gym, bro, and I met you at the gym, bro.
Yeah,
So it's like,
really.
you know, the gym brings like a lot of
Community.
healthy, community, man. A lot of healthy community, healthy friendships, bro. And that's the one place where like, you know, people are in there sweating. You seeing everyone's crazy little faces and stuff like that. So it's a good place to be, man. I love the gym, man. How long you been
Lifting, off and on, bro. I would say since about 2016, when I kind of semi started taking it serious.
Yeah, about the same with us.
Yeah,
2016.
yeah.
When'd you start?
When I was 18, I was a skinny kid in high school.
Yeah,
So
same.
right after high school, like at that age, well, back then, now you can sign up at EOS at like 16.
Yeah.
Now, but before you couldn't. You had to be 18,
Yeah,
you
I
know, to be
remember
able
that.
to sign up.
Uh-huh.
So at 18 is when I signed up and finally started getting into the gym. But it was like on and off until like a couple years ago when I was really like, you know, on and committed to it.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Were you always like heavier, or did you? Cause I mean, you said you played football, so I mean, I
Yeah.
can only assume you was
Yeah, bro. I was like 210, 212
in high school.
in high school. Yeah.
What
Running-
the
bro,
the heli?
Yeah,
I was like
bro,
130 in
bro.
high school.
Bro's
Bro.
already up there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
literally,
saying. But I was
a
having
stick.
to help my grandpa, my dad cut tree. Like, bro, I'm from the country.
Yeah.
So, like, I never really lifted weights.
Mhm.
My pops didn't have a gym membership till he was in his 50s.
Oh, okay.
So, but you get strong, bro. Both of my people are field workers. Like, down south, tobacco is a big thing. So,
Mhm.
priming tobacco, working the fields day and night. You learn labor. And you just get strong from doing stuff,
Yeah,
working on
exactly.
stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, bro, moving trees, man, bro, chopping trees with an axe, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All types. I never
Oh,
forget
bro, it's
stuff
Captain
like
America.
that. Bro. I'll never forget that stuff, bro. But yeah, I ain't never touched no weights in high school.
Yeah.
Like, to this day, I probably still can't power clean. Like, I don't have any technique.
Man, I don't think I could power.
Was never taught none of that. But yeah, bro. Yeah, man. Just actually doing stuff. You know what I mean? Having to work, get up with your pops on Saturday or whatever. I need you to help me cut the yard. We got to cut this tree down. We got to drag this out here. We got to overhaul this motor or whatever. You know what I mean? Just stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in yeah, we started 16.
Yeah, like 17 years old.
Yeah,
I
17,
wish.
16. Yeah, we started in the house though. We started at his
Yeah, I
house.
started doing like
Push-ups.
I had started just doing push-ups,
That's how it starts.
pull-ups.
Yeah, it's literally it's the origin story.
Just growing up, I used to like fight a lot. I used to be aggressive. Like
Yeah.
even if like big people, like I'd go play football, I'd play tackle. I might have been like the scrawniest, skinny kid.
Yeah.
And I was short too, cause my whole family, they're all big bone. They're all naturally big, strong. But yeah, even when I was skinny and small, I was just always aggressive and always like that. And so I remember I used to fight a lot. And I remember like the most thing is like people used to tell people like, "Oh, you got beat up by like a scrawny kid," and all that. I used to hate that word, like scrawny. I used to
Yeah.
hate when people used to call me that, cause like when you're a kid, you know, like you see like men, and you're like, "Oh, he's supposed to be strong, supposed to be all that stuff and all that." And that's what I wanted to be. I was like, you know what, I don't want to be looked at as like the little scrawny kid. And I started working out. I went through like a little growth spurt, but it all really started honestly, like the whole working out thing was because like at the time in high school, like I had a girlfriend and she had like broke my heart. I went through like a heartbreak. And so I went on like that's when I went
That's
on my
that villain
like
arc.
that's when I,
For real.
I went on that grind. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, like nah, like
Jeez.
so like 3 months, like I think I just started doing push-ups, pull-ups. Then Balo like joined in with me. We started seeing a little progress.
Yeah.
And then I remember I got my first gym membership. He started first, and then I was like, dang, like I see where he's going with it. So I'm like, all right, let me get mine. So I finally got one, and yeah, we just kind of went off with it. We was having fun. We were doing it every day.
every
We were
day,
doing
making
anything we could.
videos.
We doing anything we could to get to the gym.
Yeah, for sure, bro. I remember. Yeah, we walked, and then he started. They gave him the old was it Tahoe?
Suburban.
Gave him the Suburban, and then he would pick me up from the north side or from the east side all the way to my side. I'm like central Las Vegas, so like he would drive all the way over there, come pick me up. Then we would go to Planet Fitness, and it was like that for like the summer, and then I eventually started driving. Then I lived down the street from LVAC, so the times where he couldn't come, I got my membership. I had my membership there, so I would just walk over there, and then yeah, man, it's just so crazy how like how it started, man. Just like that journey. It's like it started from us playing soccer together to spending the night at his house, and then it just turned into what it is now. But it's important to be healthy, man. It's healthy mind, healthy body, feeding yourself spiritually. Like it all just like they all just it's like all like I want to say codependent on each other, man. Because it's like when your mental health is lacking, like you have that spiritual that spiritual in you that you can feed to help your mental,
Mm-hmm.
and then you could just supplement that with like lifting and community and stuff like that. So um we're not gonna touch too much on like the finance, but I do understand how it's important as a man to just be disciplined with your money.
Oh yeah.
I money wasn't like a conversation growing up in the household.
Mine either.
I mean it was, but it was negatively, like it was like a negative thing. Like we never had enough. We didn't have that type of money.
Or
You feel me?
bills or something.
Yeah, you feel me? So I didn't know the importance or the value of money until like I became like I had my own bills,
Mm-hmm.
and like here I am like once I got like my first little check, like I don't even remember the stuff that I was spending my money on, but I do understand how it is to be disciplined in the way we spend our money and the way we what we decide to do with our money, and credit and all that. I'm learning how important credit is now, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
That's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
but if I have any advice, it's just be smart with your money. Like,
Yeah.
just learn about it.
I would say, man, anybody looking for like conventional wisdom, I would say read the book The Richest Man in Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll teach you just some real gems that, just kind of like that uncle or fatherly wisdom that you wish you would have got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say that, bro. But yeah, we'll come back to finance.
Yeah, for
it all
sure.
boils down to discipline.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
everything we talking about right now
Uh-huh.
just boils down
Discipline,
to discipline
yeah.
and creating and just building. Once you have discipline in the gym, then you have discipline. It'll bleed over into
Yeah,
other
for sure.
aspects of your life.
Yeah, it's just gonna be an overflow of everything.
Mm-hmm.
When did y'all decide to give your life to Christ? I really want to get into ministry because everything that we talk about leading up to ministry, I think has been because of Christ, and a common knowledge of the Bible is just not to lean on your own understanding, but to trust in God, and like know that God's way is a lot stronger and a lot better than what our way is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I gave my life to Christ, like everything changed. It wasn't automatic. It wasn't like a switch, but from my journey from the beginning to now, my life has been completely different. But like we said, we all have known. I feel like most people know who God is. Everyone has like like they know who God is through common knowledge or whatever. But a lot of people, but you don't really know who God is. You feel me? Until you start to dwell in that Bible and that scripture and like in that walk with Christ, like you get to know Him as you go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when was it like that? Do y'all remember the day that you gave your life to Christ?
It's been times,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
With me, bro, just going through different stuff, different time periods of life. Like as a teenager, I was explaining off camera to my bro right here,
Mhm.
the situation. Some of the stuff that we was into as teenagers
Yeah.
in the street, and
Mhm.
it's like, it was a situation, bro, where God was speaking to me in the middle of doing something we shouldn't have been doing, and realizing that if it had all went down, how it could have went down, how I was throwing everything away, how, really what hurt the most is realizing what it would have done to my family.
Mm-hmm.
And, all the dishonor that would have brought,
Yeah.
brought to them. But just, God's always been there for me.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you got any sense of loyalty in you as a man, then you look at it like, I owe this back to you. This
Mhm.
deep respect, this deep reverence. You're the reason I have life today.
Yes,
So
sir.
who am I to live for myself? You know what I mean? Like,
Amen.
is you the reason I have life?
Mhm.
I have no choice but to live and walk in, the way that you provided or whatever you lay out for me. You know what I mean? So as a man, that's what I'm realizing now, bro. It's like God gave us free will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can do whatever,
Mm-hmm.
anything. And you understand too that all emotions come from God. Everything in the Bible, bro, everything that we experience, whether it be even depression, we talked a lot about, bro. All that is prolonged sadness, which leads to sorrow. Prolonged sorrow leads to depression. You know what I mean? But if you don't have that balance, or if you're not tethered or yoked to, you know, God, then you can't pull back from that. Because society's gonna tell you, here, take this pill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Take this antidepressant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get you hooked on that, you know, that worldly feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's so accessible now, bro.
Yeah, man.
You know?
I never was like a big fan of that. And you know, they even tried to get me to like take like antidepressants and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to like shame it, but I just like you know, I got I don't want to say I have an addictive personality, but like I just felt like it wouldn't, like I don't want to rely on something to like on a pill to make me feel better. I already done that with coke, and I've already done that with other vices. Like I even feel like that's not even gonna make me. I feel like that's just gonna damage me more. Cause what happens when I stop? What happens when like all these chemicals that are in my body like leave and I don't got nothing to supplement it? I feel like I'm gonna just like have a really bad crash out, or I'm gonna have a really bad come down. You feel me? So I was never a big fan of like the antidepressants and stuff like that, because I feel like whatever's going on within me, God got me. You feel me? Like I can do all things with Christ. You feel me? So I'm with you on that. Like culture's gonna tell you to take the pills, you know, take this drug, you know, just drown yourself in other worldly things. But you know, culture's not gonna tell you to go to Christ. The enemy's not gonna tell you to go to Christ. When was it for you, Bravo? You think?
So it's been like on and off. Also, it's been for like the past, I would say like 4 years, maybe 5. I'm not sure on it, but you know, I've lived with Christ and I've lived without Christ, and I know that like it's hard following Christ. You know, like
Yes,
it's
sir.
a hard path, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
You just get so much more blessings. You get more knowledge. Like you make better decisions for your life. You have better, like you don't have no anger towards people. You know what I mean? If you submit it to God, you know, you have to surrender everything you have that's pulling you down to God. And I feel like God has changed my life.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful. And I feel like the least I could do is follow his steps. You know what I mean? We're not perfect and we're never going to be perfect. But, I mean, just following God is
I know. That's powerful, man. It's just, it's amazing to see like what God can do with brokenness. You feel me? And another popular quote that we hear a lot is like, God doesn't call it qualified, he qualifies the called. You feel me? And we're all called to do something great. You know, we just have to accept him in our hearts and, you know, let him do the work in us, you know? I feel like for you it's recent, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna claim it. I mean, I always believed in God, but like I really didn't like know anything like really about him. I mean, when I was little, they gave me like a children's book, like that was like, you know, about like God and Moses, and I read that a lot. Like it was one of my favorite books. I loved that book. But I just, after like I grew up, you know, I forgot the story. So I used to tell people like I believe in God, but I'm an omnist. Like I believe in like what I feel like is right, you know, what I feel like is good. And I feel like at a certain point I was just like, you know what, like there has to be like a not like a blueprint, but there has to be like some kind of like rules and kind of stuff to go, because it's like there's no way you can just kind of make it what you want to. Like, you know, there's no way. Especially because like I said, like I already had believed in God, and I would pray and I would talk to God, like for sure, but like definitely like I didn't take him serious. Like really, I felt like I did it just like in the times of need, and he was always there, and he always answered, and he was always there, and I could feel it. Like I always got a warm feeling from him, like that Holy Spirit, like feeding my Holy Spirit, especially when I did things that were good. And when I wasn't and I was doing stuff, like I said, I didn't feel that at all. So when I just kind of like decided to change everything, when I dropped the drugs and dropped the drinking, dropped the smoking, dropped like a bunch of stuff, I was just like, you know what, like I want to learn more about him. And then Josh, he had invited us to a men's one. So I was like, I was like, yeah, like I want to go. Like, I've gone to church and I like church, like, but like I
Mhm.
just don't really like know much.
Mhm.
And at that point, like I was already like, I was watching so many podcasts, and I realized like most of the people's podcasts that I was watching were Christians, and I had no clue. But like just their way of thinking, like I really loved it. Like I
Yeah.
really loved it, and I started like instilling that in myself. And so going to that men's one, like man, I remember like I just felt so good, felt so sure. I went and like man, like I broke down
Boy
crying,
was
like
crying for sure.
yeah, I broke
Snot
down
and everything.
crying. Like
No, that's
the
real, man.
Yeah.
energy, the life I felt in there,
Mhm.
like man, like I closed my eyes and it's just like you feel it. It's that feeling, like feeling so close to God. It's like if it's such a great feeling,
Mhm.
like so, like I felt like it was like also too in that moment. I felt like he was happy, like he was like finally, like because
Yeah.
I know
Oof.
Yeah.
I think he knew that
Amen.
he knew for sure that like that from that point on, like he had me.
Yeah.
He got me. Like I gave him my life for sure. Like in my head, I was already thinking it. Like I went home, man. I was watching podcasts about like people that like talk about like from these pastors and stuff like that on there.
Mm.
I was just trying to do all my research about like like God, Jesus. Started like reading the Bible from like the front, like so I'm trying to read that through, doing the devotionals, like just really surrounding myself with God, like even in like these channels, these daily prayers. Yeah, so like I'd say that point, like what it was like, what February, January,
When we went
February,
to
February.
the men's thing.
February.
February,
Yeah, for
beginning
those,
of
just
February.
to say something real quick about the men's what's it called? The event, do you know?
Brothers in Band,
Pace setters.
Band of Brothers.
Band of
Pace
Brothers.
setters.
Pace setters.
It's
Band of
called
Brothers.
Pace setters, Band of Brothers. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's literally just like a morning thing where they just bring all the men of the church, and they we do games, we do like activities, and then we worship and do fellowship, and then someone preaches. And they bring us breakfast and stuff. That's my favorite part, the breakfast.
He be getting down on
Yeah,
them.
they be stomach be hurting after those breakfast
Yeah,
meals.
for real.
But it's just a good way to like. It's a good way to be vulnerable with other men.
Mhm.
And sometimes I know it could be like hard to like be vulnerable with other men, but it's a good way to just like unite and because we're leaders. We're the men are like we're the head of the house, man. And it's just a good way to just like to learn how to step into that role as like a godly man, and like even just like to provide for your like for the future family. So that's basically what Band of Brothers is. So I just wanted to
That's
touch on that
solid.
real quick.
The church I go to out here actually has something like that.
What church do you go to?
Bringing Families Back Ministries.
Bring It
Pastor R.C. Simon. Y'all
Okay.
might have seen him on IG. Yeah, plug them in real quick, man. Shout out to Bringing Families Back Ministries.
Mhm.
That's been like, I've been to a couple different churches. I
Mhm.
went to was it Central?
Central Church.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I kind of bounced around a little bit. You know what I mean? Different fields. I know what I'm looking for,
Yeah.
and I need
Yeah.
something a little more personable.
Exactly, yo.
Less showy, but more so. I like to
I
hear the
agree.
word. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So and
Oof.
somebody that can break it down.
Exactly.
And RC does an amazing job
That's
at that,
good.
bro. Very articulate. And he recently, we all the same age, all in the same peer group. And bro, he gave his life to Christ, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and has been in ministry preaching,
Mm-hmm.
does
That's
sermons,
good.
and bro, he's worked with people like Ty Lopez, Tony Robbins, so he understands how to break things down. He understands human psychology, so
Mhm.
he uses that to correlate everything through Christ too, so he can deliver the message in the way that he know you'll receive it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about him and the church family over there, bro. Is they accepted me since day one.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And we met at a networking event. And bro, I'm new to Vegas. I didn't know anybody, and he was the first person I talked to, bro. You know what I'm saying? Filipino kid. I just saw him, and his face lit up. He's smiling, and I don't even know why. We just kind of like naturally just attracted and like had a conversation.
Yeah.
And we had a networking event, bro. And we talking about God. I'm talking to him. He's like, bro, when we start go to church, this and that. I'm telling him about how I kind of came up and stuff, and all of that to say they have a men's fellowship meeting every month. And
Nice.
I think you guys should check it out, even though you guys have like your
Yeah.
own church and everything you go to. But to be around another group of men and we sit down and we can have like a no holds barred kind of conversation,
Yeah,
bro.
for sure.
And it's food, all of that stuff as well. But it's just like, man, so many people get delivered and the floor is just open to receive Christ every time. It's a message, prayer, you know what I mean, and teaching that goes on.
Yeah, it's a strong thing to get a bunch of group of men in one place and just be able to create a space where they can praise and worship the Lord and just be vulnerable without feeling like judgment,
Judged,
without
yeah.
like,
There we go.
you know, because it's like, you know, in the world, like it's not. I don't want to like a man expresses himself and like, you know, it's automatically like, you know, he's this, he's that.
Weak,
He's,
sassy.
yeah, you know, he's sassy, he's zesty, this and that. You feel me?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
got that all the time too,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But you know, everyone. I mean, I'm like, bro, I'm just enjoying myself. You feel me?
Yeah.
But it feels good to be able to be around people who won't use that against you.
Mm-hmm.
You feel me? And like when I gave my life to Christ, it was you know, earlier in the year too. But you know, when you first do it, I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out,
Mm-hmm.
and I was taking what I could apply to my life at first, and that's what I was going with. I was like, all right, well, at least I'm a good person, so I'm good. But it gets so much like once you get into it, it gets so much more deeper than that. There's like there's a deeper calling on what you're supposed to be doing as a man or woman of God. And I think Pastor Philip
He's
Mythel?
like Packer Mickle.
Pastor Philip Mythel, Pastor Philip Mitchell Anthony was probably like, even though I never met him, like I started watching, like I was watching like a bunch of pastors. You know, I was watching like Michael Todd and like Stephen Furtick, but once I came, like they're good pastors, but I'm more too of the type where I need tough love. I need that like
tough.
like you can't sugarcoat things for me. You can't like tell me everything's gonna be okay, because that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna just be like, all right, cool, like I guess I'm doing everything right. But the way that he's like in your face, like telling you like, you know, this is what the Bible says, like this is what the law says, like you know, he tells you straight flat out in your face like what we need to be doing. And like his voice just was in my head, like I was just like, bro, like get out, bro, like. But you know, like I want to say he was one of the influences that made me like want to like further myself in my walk with Christ. And you know, big shout out to him and his church, because his church is doing like amazing things, you know. And yeah, it's just it's man, the way Christ moves in your life is so, it's just the changes that he makes. And you know, you start to reject it at first. You start to like, you know, you start to see yourself removing yourself from different places and removing yourself from different people, and you try to fight it at first. And like that it's like a tug of war that's going on, and it's like God is like trying to release you from this, but then like you're like, nah, like
Not
I
ready.
still want that piece of me.
yeah,
I
I
still
still
want
want
that
to keep it.
Yep.
You know, and that's one of the things I had to surrender, was like my identity. And that was like a big thing for me, because I identified myself with being Ballo. I identified myself as being like a big Suicide Boys, you know, fan supporter, you know, like, cause a part of me, like, you know, I have like I was like, I'm really on Twitter. I'm like, kind of like I stand out in the community, because, you know, I have all the tattoos, you know, they noticed who I was, they noticed what I was doing. And I built an identity on that. And one thing that I feel like I still need to surrender is that need to feel recognized. You feel me? So it's like, you know, I got recognized from all the work that I was putting in with Suicide Boys and like doing all the modeling stuff, you know, all the pictures that I was doing and all that stuff. And like, I still like I try to do that in like other areas of my life, just trying to like, I want someone to recognize me. And I had to surrender all of that. I had to surrender like my like Ballo the Suicide Boys influencer, or you know, Ballo this, Ballo that.
That persona
that I had, man. You know, the piercings, the tattoos, and I just had to realize that like the only identity that matters is the one that's in Christ. And once I was able to like surrender that, man, like, you know, you step into a different calling. You feel me? That's why I started, you know, I started introducing myself as Joshua again, because that's who I was. That was my name. And you know, our name holds weight. Yeshua, like, you know,
major.
Yeah, Yeshua means salvation. God is salvation, you know? So it's like I'm starting to really like step into that, because that's in order for God to show you His will, you need to be the person that He's
Intended you
that
to
He's
be.
you intended you to be. You know,
Mhm.
like I said,
And
Pastor
his
Benny
yep.
was talking about this morning. Instead of like, God is not gonna bless the person you're making yourself out to be. You know, whatever your believing culture is telling you, like God's not gonna bless that version of yourself.
Yep.
You feel me? The enemy is just gonna use that to do
Destroy
his
you.
own agenda. You feel me? But if
Destroy
we're
you.
gonna, we were talking about this at our Bible
At the
study,
Bible
like
study.
seek first the kingdom of God and all His righteousness, and everything is gonna be added on to that, bro. Once you just start seeking the things of the kingdom, man, God is just he's gonna bless you with all those things to further His kingdom. You feel me?
Yeah.
And right now, like my voice, my blessing to be able to speak, and, you know, for me to bring you guys together and do this, you know, this is it's just crazy the things that God will do when you just start to surrender like these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in your lives it's different. You know, a lot of people have to surrender a lot of different things. So like, what do you guys think is like those things that you had to surrender to Christ?
I'd say one. I was just looking at my notes app. One thing I had to surrender was kind of expectation, and like also how do I say this? Entitlement,
Mm.
being entitled,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of people too with the walk of Christ, and it was me in the beginning, and that's something I had to learn is, and Pastor Benny, I think he spoke about it a little bit today. It's just stop feeling like when you do something good, that's when God's gonna reward you.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that's
That's a bad way to think, and that's how I think in the beginning, how I kind of like took it as, and I like learned recently, like do it because you want to,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and don't expect nothing in return.
Exactly.
And cause like that's how life works, and sometimes you cause honestly sometimes like you look at people and you're like, why are they getting blessed?
Mm-hmm.
They're not doing good things. You start doing that, and honestly, it's like you gotta just do it because like that's you, and not doing it because you're looking for like a thank you or here's something in return or here's your reward for doing it. You gotta stop looking for that. Like you gotta just do it because you know at the end of the day it's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's it. Do it
Yeah,
because it's
God
right,
warns
because you
us
know
about
it's
that.
right. And so that's my thing. It was like just expecting like, oh, like I'm doing something great. Like, why is this going wrong? Like, you know, like no life. Like when you start living like that, then you're not doing it. You're also not doing it because you want to. You're doing it because you're looking for that reward.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a bad habit to build. Is like, you know, when like people, when you give people rewards, it's like even like any like a puppy. When you give them like when you tell them do a trick and you give them a treat, that they're gonna
Conditioning.
look for it.
They
Yeah, you
condition
conditioning
them.
yourself that you start looking for that. You start feeling like everything you need, you have to have a reward.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't come with one, then you're like, I don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then also too, just feeling like stop making it like for me. I felt like I used to be super critical. Like there's times where like, man, I was just like tired or whatever the case was, and I used to force myself to like make sure that I got my devotional done, make sure I went to like church, make sure I read it, make sure I was doing all that thing because that's what it was to be like a good Christian. But in reality, like you can't force yourself to do that. You kind of have to like just let it like happen naturally. And I know like I don't think God wants us to force ourselves to do it. He wants us to kind of like do it just like, you know, as we're supposed to. So like even like some of the things like I do, like I realized like I stopped having to be so hard on myself with my walk in Christ because I realized like God loves me regardless, and
Yeah.
the most important thing is that He's happy that I'm just trying.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I think that's the main thing
Yeah.
with being a Christian is like people compare themselves to other Christians like, oh, I need to be doing that to be a good Christian, but in reality the point is of you trying, like
Yep.
you doing that walk, you believing, you putting that faith, you not giving up, you fighting.
Mhm.
That's like that. I think that's the main important thing because like you're never gonna be perfect. You know, you're gonna make mistakes, and I had to learn to like forgive myself too for making mistakes because I know God's gonna forgive me, and I'm not doing these things because I'm like I don't do these things thinking like, oh, like I'm gonna do them because I know God's gonna forgive me. No, like you know I'm a human at the end of the day. Like you know sometimes you know you're
make
gonna make
mistakes.
mistakes. You're
Yeah.
gonna sometimes you're gonna get dragged back. You know you might be losing a battle, but God's always gonna be there.
Amen. Amen, bro.
Mhm.
Yeah, what you just said, bro, that's a mouthful, honestly, bro. It's everything you just covered. That's really it. You gotta understand, bro. I don't even really know. It wasn't a lot for me to give up really anything, bro.
Mhm.
It's weird. I never had an attachment to anything. and I don't really know how to explain that to where other people can relate, because you know what I mean. Some people might have been like, "Oh, I gotta have this," or it might have been sports, it might have been people, it might have been, you know. But like looking back on how I got to this point in life is realizing that everything is temporary,
Mm-hmm.
except for Christ, except for your relationship with God, and understanding that that's eternal.
Yeah.
So what really matters? You know what I mean? How you feel about me in the meantime, we're gonna forget about that in 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I guarantee there's people in our lives right now, or that aren't in our lives right now, who 5 years ago we probably kicked it with every day, talked to every day. You know what I mean? But it was always bigger than that. So
Yeah.
with me, bro, spending a lot of alone time, and understanding that you have to carry your cross daily, carry it up
Yeah.
daily. But it's really a metaphor for, you know, what does your devotion to Christ look like on the
Mhm.
daily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fine, it's like a spectrum, I would say, between, okay, now you're here, you're living, walking in Christ, right? And then there's a line of, okay, am I gonna be the lazy Christian and, you know, do it when I feel like, do it when I want to, or am I gonna be the person, I have to do it this way, the super religious type, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? I gotta give 10 Hail Marys, I gotta do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But nah, that's not a relationship. Relationship flows. It's
Yeah.
organic. You know, how do you build, you know, your relationship with Christ? I can't tell you how that's supposed to look.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain things you're supposed to have within that relationship, but it's on you how it kind of operates and how it moves. And when it's organic, I mean, when it's real and when it's genuine and authentic, bro, you'll know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you talk to God and just including God in everything. Bro, you might be
Yeah.
in the grocery store. You might be in the, bro, a lot of times I'll be in the gym talking to God.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll have headphones in with no music,
Mm-hmm.
just because like I don't want to be bothered, or I'm in the
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
or
it's like
cloud out the noise a
the
little bit so you
noise,
could like really
yeah,
focus.
yeah. You got pop music, Taylor Swift in the
Mhm.
background going on. I'm trying to, you know what I'm trying, really trying to
Yeah.
lock in.
Yeah.
And especially when, you know, you're pushing weight or whatever it is, bro, and it's like, all right, God, you know, give me the strength, you know, for this,
Mhm.
or, you know, God, we got this, whatever the case. Especially if you work out by yourself, bro. I know
Facts.
everybody's done it, you know, yeah, that's major, man. You know, cultivating, I would say, what your relationship looks like with Christ.
That's true.
What do you think, Josh?
I feel like surrendering. I feel like I can speak for most men is like surrendering ego as a
Mm.
man. You know, like for me, it was a big thing. You know, I feel like well, growing up, like we were raised like, oh, you gotta flash money, you gotta flash jewelry, gold, like
Mhm.
the woman you're with, like
Yeah.
the cars you drive. You know what I mean? The stuff you're doing, and you know, and being in a culture like men want to be better than each other rather
Yeah.
than helping each other up. You know, so I feel like for me, I was in a season where like I had a very high ego, but yet I was broken inside and you know depressed inside and
Mhm.
still wasn't fulfilled even with the jewelry and all the nice things that you
Yeah.
have, you know. So that was one thing I did have to surrender to God and let God put that hand over me on top of that, you know.
Mhm. No, that's real.
Um, the thing that comes with Christ is, you know, He wants us to surrender everything to Him. There's no way you'll be able to walk with a life with Christ if you're still holding on to the things that He wants to like deliver you from. And a lot of surrendering has to do with, you know, dropping your ego and dropping your pride. Because as long as you carry that ego and that pride with you, you won't be able to successfully do the works of Christ or what He has um for your life. You
Mhm.
know, so surrendering is such a big thing, and I know it could be hard at first because we don't want to surrender those things. We don't want to give up those things, give up our old ways, because before Christ, we were living a life that that we we were living a life for so long that we didn't know what we were doing, you know. So it's like once we finally are able to like let go of that old life, um once we were able to get over that old life and start a new one, you know, that's when it really changes, man. And I could just understand how hard it is to like give up. Like for me, it was very hard to give up sex, bro. Sex was something that I was doing like almost on a weekly basis.
Mhm.
You feel me? So it's like that was really one of the things that I really had to like submit and really give to the Lord and surrender that to Him. because like they say, like his way, God's way is always gonna be better than our way.
Yeah.
You know, it's God's way or the highway. You feel me?
Exactly.
But there's a verse that I want to share, and it's like it's something that I carry with me because it's something that kind of like scares me, but it's not a bad scary, it's a good scary. But it's like you have to fear the Lord as well as you know, as much as he's blessing. I always say this, like our God is a good God, he's a merciful God, he's a forgiving God.
Yep.
But like his judgment is real, and his judgment is coming. And once he throws you into the lake of fire, bro, and you know, he sends you to hell, bro, like that's it. You know, you're separated from the Holy Spirit for eternity. But this is it's Matthew 7, and it's Matthew 7:21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the ones who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on the day of the Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, drive out demons in your name, and perform many miracles? He said, then I would tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. And it's just like, that just says like, a lot of people will, you know, put on that Christian facade, like I believe in Christ, you know, this and that, but what are you doing? How are you serving him? How are you furthering his kingdom? How are you, like, what are you doing to advance his kingdom? Are we fasting? Are you doing his law? Are you being obedient? So, you know, to wrap this up, like, are there any advice that you would give to new believers or like people who want to, you know, start their walk with Christ?
Bro,
Are there any advice that you guys want to give to new believers?
I just keep
out
it
there?
simple and plain to this. You got to understand the difference between sacrifice and obedience and the weight that they hold. Sacrifice is saying, all right, God, I'll give you this if you give me this in return.
Yeah.
Yep.
You trying to negotiate with God.
There's no
you
negotiation.
can't,
You feel me? You trying to negotiate with God, but obedience is full submission. And that takes away everything that comes with that on the negative side, bro. And that's how you got to look at life and live it, is once you're obedient, you're saying, you know what? I'm not looking for anything in return. I'm not looking for you to give anything. You know what I mean? I just completely submit to you and let your will be done. I'm following your, you know, the path that you laid before me, and everything that comes with that, you know, is what I'll accept. And you'll get blessed along the way. But it's almost like a childlike mentality with sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, we've been conditioned to, you do something good, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But once you fully, you know, you fully submit, obedience is the high road. It's the way.
I think that would probably be like my advice too. Just be obedient. And I know it's not easy at first, and God doesn't expect you to just, like, you know, give your life to Christ and everything's different. Like you're still gonna go through, you know, trials and tribulations, but it's just the more that you get intimate with him and the more that you pursue him and seek him, those things it's just gonna come to you. Like, I didn't give my life to Christ and then I immediately stopped having like sex, or I stopped watching porn, or I stopped trying to curse less, or doing all that. Like, as I got more into the scriptures and more into the word, like that just like started happening. You feel me? So my advice was just read the book for yourself, read the scriptures for yourself, because there's so many. You got to be aware of, like, there's people out there who are speaking false doctrine, and you don't want to be one of those people who get caught up in the lies of like what people are saying. So what better way to learn the scripture than to read it for yourself?
Exactly.
So get that knowledge for yourself. You know, learn about God for yourself before you just go and like research a bunch of things, and you'll just know for yourself. So that's gonna be my advice.
Mine would just be don't quit. Just kind of keep it short.
Quit.
Don't quit. Don't quit on your faith. Like, don't think that, like, oh, I made a mistake. Like, now I'm not worthy of it. God is forgiving. Like I said, like, I know we say like, oh, don't sin because you know you're being forgiven, but you are gonna be forgiven anyways. And I know that's said like a lot, and I feel like it scares a lot of people away from like that relationship with God, because they're like, oh, like, I don't want to be that person that's sinning because of forgiveness. Now, yeah, that's a real thing, but if you're feeling that conviction, like, for that saying, then okay, that's probably you. But if you're really genuinely trying, like, we're not perfect, and sometimes like a try might be like, look, I went a day without it, that's a try. You tried it.
Yeah.
You tried it. You genuinely gave it
Yeah.
effort, you know? And like the goal is to just keep giving that effort. It's not easy. It's a fight. It's called the fight for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
If these fights were easy, you know, it'd just be basically like a workout. You know, you do it and you get better. But no, it's not like that. It's not. You got to just keep trying. You got to keep fighting. Just don't quit. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness is the biggest thing.
Yeah. We're not trying to advocate for sin, but God knows the story of your life already. He knows that He wrote the beginning, He wrote the middle, and He knows the future. So He knows you're gonna sin. It doesn't give us an excuse to sin, but it should. He just wants you to know that you're already forgiven. Once you give your life to Christ, you're forgiven, and you're born again. You're forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna mess up, but the thing to remember is that don't take His grace. Don't take advantage of His grace and His forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Because who do you think is going to be worse for, a sinner who doesn't know Christ or a sinner who knows Christ? So
Exactly.
just know the difference between that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The judgment is going to be harder for a sinner who doesn't know Christ. And Philip Mitchell Anthony said this too. He's like, at least I forgot what the context was. Don't take this out of context, but there's context. But he's like at least an atheist knows an atheist knows that he doesn't believe in anything. But for us, like, we know that there's a creator, and we know that God is real and He's alive and His word is alive. So when you're out there sinning and you're sinning because you know He's gonna forgive you, like it doesn't work like that, you know.
Nah.
So yeah, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say about it.
My advice would be understanding that following Jesus is not a religion, but a relationship with Him, you know, and it's not a rules of a bunch of tasks that you have to follow. It's just understanding that He is our Father in heaven, and if we believe in Him, we will reap His rewards. We'll have a fruitful life, and just understanding His word is way better than us living our own lives. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the commandments are not for us not to restrict us from like living life. Okay, look, guys, like they're to keep us from death and to keep us from getting off the straight and narrow path. You feel me?
I thought it stopped.
Huh?
My bad.
Oh. But yeah, these rules are not to restrict you from living life. Like we have the ability to do anything and everything. It's just that He has those set in place so that we don't just steer towards death. So just remember that. But that's it for the podcast. I just want to thank everyone who made this possible. I got to give my flowers to my boys for showing up and for being vulnerable. So I appreciate that, guys. I love you guys. Shout out to On the Run for letting us use the space and everything. And yeah, man, thank you.
Could have talked forever.
Yeah, we could have. Yeah,
exactly.
We only pay for the 2 hours. You feel me? And we went over the 2 hours. So. But yeah, I just want to thank you guys. Thank you guys for showing up and coming on the podcast and pouring your heart out. I know a lot of people are going to be touched by this. So
let me ask you this, Josh, before we fully wrap it up. If y'all like this, wherever this may be posted, I hope that this message will touch the hearts and minds of the people that do watch this. And if y'all want to see more content like this, man, I guess I'll start it with me. Follow us. This is where we are. This is who we are, and this is, you'll be along for our journey as well on our walk with Christ. And on Instagram, I'm not as active, but you can always reach out. Feel free to shoot me a message, DM, whatever. But it's Antonio, ANTONIO _TRMG.
Yes, sir. I'll put everyone's ads.
I'll put it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll put
Okay.
everyone's ads on the
For sure.
stuff
I didn't know
and
how
stuff.
we was.
Yeah, I got y'all.
All right.
But yeah, thanks for joining us. This was the first mental health and ministry podcast that I've done. But we're gonna keep doing this stuff because I know there's people out there who need to hear the good word and hear the good news and stuff. So this is the first, but not the last.
Exactly.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So again, thank you guys for joining, and I guess we'll see you next time.
Tune in next time.
Yes,
Peace
sir.
and love. We did it.
Nice.
We did it.